How about that theme music? It's
The
beautiful
reverb on that.
Beautiful. And of course, that theme song was created by one of the co-founders of our beloved podcast. That would be the one and only Jeremiah Jackson from Coin Op Corner, who, by the way, I have it on good authority, is working on the long-awaited part 2 of his Ms. Pack restoration series. So hopefully that will be coming soon. So what's going on, Jeremiah? If you're listening to us, we hope you're doing well. And welcome all of you to episode, can you believe it, 15 of the Coin Jam podcast. As always, I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. I am joined again, as always, by Liam from Retrobotics, Kay from Prime Arcade. And we actually allowed him back, Chance from the Canadian Arcade, despite all of his awful behavior. Every time we had to cut his mic and I had to go back and edit out all his cuss words.
We let him back, but the FCC has been keeping an eye on him, and this may be his last episode.
And whatever the Canadian equivalent of it is.
They don't apply.
International courts of human justice or something, or what was the thing? You know, the thing that Ricky from Trailer Park Boys would always say.
Oh, that's a Josh question. That he watched more Trailer Park Boys than I did.
It's like the
CRTC. Yeah. CRTC. Thanks,
but
Wayne.
He had a funny name for it.
Oh, I can't remember. They're friends of ours. Honestly, like I should have probably.
Well, I mean,
it.
that's isn't that like half the population of your country?
Ooh, ouch, jeez.
Like, you know,
Shots
like
fired.
People's Freedom of Choices and Voices Act.
Oh,
you might be in violation of that.
But it is what it is.
Anyhow, I got the music working right. I got the intro working right. I actually updated. What's the correct term in TV lingo for this? The bumpers, like the sort of thing with the splash screen.
Splash screen bumpers.
Yeah. See, I'm in the biz, right? I'm using the lingo. I had that updated with Chance's logo, so we are rocking and rolling here. Taking a quick look at the live chat. Who do we have here? I know way back we had Stringer at like 4:00 this morning chiming in first, and then Bobby Broadway in the house, Wayne, Overtime Arcade channel member, Dominic, and who else we got? Jumpin' General, Josh O.D. Brown, the other half of the Canadian Arcade, Papa Sean 69 tubing in from Peterborough, Ontario. We are worldwide, intergalactic. We're big in Norway too. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah, this should be a fun one. So thank you if you're watching this live or watching the VOD later, or listening to the audio version. On the audio version, you do miss out on the interactivity of the live chat, and that's okay. And if you're only listening to us, you're missing out on 4 handsome gentlemen talking into your screens. We got Jason Mucha chiming in. And yeah, I guess Josh is saying he's only here to make sure Chance doesn't violate your NDAs. And usually that's only when you guys are talking about work, which you haven't done for a while. But
yeah,
and that's
I
okay.
believe you have my stapler.
That's right. So yeah, here we got a couple cool things to talk about later on this episode, with a title inspired by a couple of folks, especially Steve Lady, Kotru 311, Mosaic Arcade. The $500 shipped meme that he has been pushing for years. And I try usually to have kind of a funny, creative, and at least in my mind, title for our episodes. And almost no one ever comments on it or says, hey, I got that joke or whatever. So yeah, I'm just trying to do what I'm trying to do. And I'm getting texts from my family. Yes, I am doing a podcast. So I think I was having some connection issues before, and I went and rebooted the router, not realizing that my wife was on a FaceTime call, so I might have bumped her off of that. And holy cow, before we've even started, we've got Jerry Voluptuous, Overtime Arcade channel member, smashing in with a $999 million super chat donation. And I think Jerry meant to say boom shakalaka. Reading it, it's trying to make me say something different, but I think it's boom shakalaka. So
I'm pretty sure that's a
rock
curse word
roll.
in Norway.
It might be. Boom shamalska. Boom shamalska. Oh, sorry, Jerry says he's driving. So appreciate you listening. Hopefully you've got two hands on the wheel and
Yeah,
you.
we were popular in Norway. We just got blacklisted because you said that out loud.
That's like texting and driving to the extreme. I'm going to spend money on YouTube and drive.
It's driving and super chatting. There you go.
Yeah.
But we appreciate the support, Jerry. Jerry is his name should be Jerry Generous, not Jerry Voluptuous. And I have his pizza box actually down in the basement.
Yeah, I've got one too now because I ran into him this month.
Oh, you have is it in the background somewhere?
No, it's downstairs. I forgot to bring it up.
Okay, cool. So we got a couple things we'll be talking about. Some things that are actually pretty. I don't know if they're controversial, but they're things that are always on people's minds, right? When you're buying and selling these games, whether you're buying or selling projects or complete games or whatever, how do you determine price? What makes a fair price? What sort of information do you use to kind of steer that decision, whether you're the buyer or the seller or whatever? How do you figure that out? So we'll be talking about that. And then what happens if the game or the part or whatever that you want or need is somewhere else, or the person is somewhere else, or the person who wants it is somewhere else from where the game or the part is? How do you figure out shipping, right? How do you ship an entire cabinet? How do you package things properly? What about international shipping? So, Josh and Chance actually have a unique perspective on that. So we'll be getting into all of that. But of course, first we're going to do our standard updates from everyone. We'll go around the horn. Everyone will chime in. And let's see. This time, why don't we start with Liam? And because he's got some interesting stuff to talk about here. Let's hear, first of all, recent pickups and any game room updates that you might have. So, Liam, go ahead.
Recent pickups, only one in the month of April, and that was Battlezone. We picked up a free Battlezone, actually. It's our first free game, and it is complete. Didn't know that when we got it. Assumed it was, but it was locked, no key. Pulled it out of a basement, and it seems to be in pretty good shape. Naturally, it does not work one bit, but all the pieces
was free.
It was free.
Do you have that sound effect?
No, I don't. I'm like, how do I get a $ or a free sound effect onto the soundboard in like 5 seconds?
I'm super grateful to the woman who gave it to us. She was talking about other people had chimed in saying they'd offer money for it, and she held on to it actually for us until the weekend, until we could go get it. And it was in Philadelphia or close by. And on the way back from going and grabbing that game, I stopped off at Jerry's and had some awesome pizza. So really, that was the highlight of the day. Getting Battlezone,
and of course pizza. That's Mambroso's Pizza in Aston, Pennsylvania, just outside Philly. And every time I'm forced to eat the garbage pizza that's available here locally, and all of the pizza places by me are bad, but there's like different levels of bad, right? All the way down at like the Domino's and the Papa John's, and there's like different levels, right? And even the best pizza is bad, right? Mm-hmm. And I keep thinking of Jerry's delicious Mambroso's Pizza. So for a long time, Mambroso's has been the official pizza of Overtime Arcade, and I think recently Liam officially decreed it as the official pizza
of Retrobotics as well.
There you go. So yeah, what's the plan with this Battlezone?
Take it apart and get it back working. So as of now, and I think this goes more in the projects you're working on section, but I've started diagnosing it and pulled it out and put the board on the cat box. And well, to start with, everything was wrong. The RAM was bad, the ROMs are bad, the processor is bad, and the vector generator is dead. So I am trying to get it working one piece at a time. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But overall, super psyched to have it. It was on the list. We'll fill out the vector side of the arcade. And really hoping I can get it going soon.
Very cool. I know a lot of us are jealous. Battlezone is a terrific game, and nothing beats free, right? Hopefully it doesn't come with a free case of facial herpes or something from the scope, right? I know I'm a big fan of the Coin Rejects podcast, and they always make fun of Battlezone for being the herp scope. You put your face on it in a public arcade, you're liable to get herpes on your face, but hopefully wipe it down. You don't want to have any problem there.
I saw a free case of facial herpes in concert. They were pretty good.
Hey, you know, I heard they're pretty bad live though.
Oh, come on.
But before we go on to our next person chiming in on this, we have another super chat donation, this time coming in from Zoner69, another Overtime Arcade channel member, with a $169 million super chat donation. Thank you for the support. There's no message attached, unfortunately, because YouTube only allows you, yeah, that's funny, requires you to have, it has to be a $199 million donation or $200 million donation before you can have a message attached. But Zoner says, from what I've heard, pizza worth the flight out. So yeah, if you're flying in, it's not that far from Philadelphia airport. So maybe if you're going to Philly for work, have your Zoom driver swing by Mambrozzo's and expense that pizza. Because that's what I did. Jerry was trying to get me to pay, but I'm like, no, I'm on a business trip. I'm going to expense this thing. So there we go. Now, why don't we go to Kay? Any recent pickups, anything cool you've gotten lately, any game room updates, that kind of thing?
So the last things that were brought into the shop since the last episode, I got an Asteroids, very nice Asteroids, and it was an early one, an early release. So it has the Ally coin doors, just like on the logo. And it has a G05 monitor instead of the 19 V2000, which is neat because I've never worked on one of those before. Every Asteroids I've ever had, pretty much every black and white vector I've ever had the V2000 in it. So this was my first G05 rebuild. It worked out of the box. I just did the recap and all that good stuff, all the preventative maintenance. And it's a beautiful, good-looking monitor. Tiny bit of burn-in on it, but that's pretty standard. I believe I've already got it sold as well. I also picked up a Black Pyramid pinball machine. It was a buyback. I'd sold it a few years back, and they were moving, so I ended up buying it back. And it's got a few issues that I'm still working through, but I'll get into that when I talk about the projects I'm working on. It's playable most of the time, except when it doesn't feel like booting. If it boots, it works great. If it doesn't, then you got to reset it a couple times until it decides it wants to work. So I'm currently working through that. I also got a Gorf cocktail. It was part of a trade-in as payment. It works, but it doesn't have any sound. I haven't gone through it in any capacity. Could be something simple, but so
it's usually not simple. Gorf board set.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's just like a disconnected speaker or something like that, but I haven't even opened it up yet. I just coined it up and tried to play a game.
Let me ask you about that. I don't think I've ever seen a Gorf cocktail in person. What kind of joystick does it have? Right, because the upright has a flight stick. So what is Gorf cocktail use?
It's like a mispacked joystick. It's nothing special.
Yeah.
Really?
Does it have like a trigger at all? Like I know there's like
nope, just
I think like the Satan's Hollow cocktail has like a trigger on the little tiny cocktail joystick.
That's a joystick and button, just a 4-way joystick and button like anything else.
Huh. I gotta see this. I'm looking this up.
Wow. I also got a Galaga, original Galaga cabinet that someone had converted to a multicade. It's got a really old multicade board in it. It's got a 4-in-1, well before the 60-in-1. And it also has a computer monitor in it, not a flat screen, a CRT, where it's basically just been screwed directly into the brackets. That needs to be replaced, but the entire cabinet it needs work. The bottom fell out when I was trying to pick it up and put it in the truck. Yeah, that's what it looks like right there. It's just a joystick and button, nothing special.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But the Galaga got a lot of water damage. The bottom just completely fell off. It's already been modified to use that monitor, and it's got an adapter so it can use a Jamba board. So my plan is to cut the bottom couple inches of it just completely off and replace the wood and do a whole lot of work on it. Put an original CRT in there. Basically get it back to being a Galaga again.
And so the whole bottom's already gone. right? Not just damaged, not just like gone, like it's a goner, but like missing.
No, I have it, but like all the wood dowels and everything had already ripped out of the bottom.
Yeah.
The power brick and everything that's on the bottom isn't even used anymore because it's not using the ISO because it's got a computer monitor in it, and it has just a switcher power supply in it that goes into the jam adapter, so it's not even using any of the power at the bottom. So all that stuff I don't need anyway. I'm just gonna rip all that out, put a brand new bottom on after I cut the bottom couple inches off. It's going to be a project, but some people that I sold some machines to recently are also looking for a Galaga, so I'm going to get this.
Everyone's always looking for Galaga. Well, and the
if
reason
if I had Galagas just in stock as far as the eye could see, I could retire
You could sell
tomorrow
them.
because everybody just that's the only thing they ever asked for. I'm like, I don't have one.
Well, and the reason I ask is because I don't know if you saw this, but there was a Tron for sale recently that the whole bottom was just gone, missing, right? And like the isolation transformer was like bolted to the wall on the inside. Liam actually found it and posted it on the Overtime Arcade private members only Discord, and we were all having a laugh about it. And then like a day or two later, I don't know if you guys know Arcade Eric with a K, ERIK. He PMs me on Facebook Messenger with like a pickup picture. It's like, guess what I have in the back of my car? And it's like inside, I guess, an SUV, right? And all you see is the bottom of this cabinet, and the bottom's missing, and it's like loaded from the bottom.
It's hard to
it's like
even
right
make out
behind
what it
him,
was.
right? And like you can see like the yellow Bally Midway sort of grounding, straps in there. I'm like, you bought that Tron that was missing the entire bottom. So
it's just a fuse.
Good on. I mean, I think it actually
down.
works. I think it works.
No way it works. No way.
Come on.
I think it works.
That's some BS, right?
90% of a Tron. I mean,
wow. And that was
That's not 90 is a high number. That was maybe a 75% tops of a Tron.
And so good on him for taking on that project. I think he already has a Tron, so he's got one to use as a template to make a new bottom and build it back up. But that's pretty crazy.
Now he's got 1.5 Trons.
There you go. Cool. Anything else?
I think that's it for me. I can tell you about some of the stuff I just finished because I put up videos of them. If you check out my TikTok at prime_arcade, you'll see videos of some of my recent repairs. I just finished a Miss Pack cocktail machine, which turned out beautifully. A Matahari and a California Speed. So I've got videos of all those if you'd like to take a look at those.
Matahari. Do you know the controversy with Matahari pinball?
I think you brought that up the last time I talked about Matahari.
Do you remember if you went and looked at the back glass and see if it was like the band back glass?
No, I didn't have the special one. I had the
normal one. So I gotta look from Chance like he's not familiar with this. So Matahari is like it's the theme is sort of set in like the Indiana Jones kind of era, right? So like during the Third Reich, but really before World War II kicked off. So like the Nazis were kind of like bad guys, but not in the hot shooting war just yet. And like I guess there are Nazis that you're kind of like going up against in Matahari or like right. And there is like in the back glass, there's a version of the back glass where I think it's a woman holding a dagger, and the dagger has like Third Reich like
it's like a Hitler Youth dagger.
It's something like that, yeah.
Oh,
and so they got rid of it.
Yeah, but explain why a buddy of ours likes that game so much. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That is much rarer. I don't know if it's necessarily sought after, but interesting right there. And before we go over to Chance, we've got another super generous super chat donation. Old Reliable Stringer Films with his $200 million saying I should have bid in that prosthetic leg. Is that bid in that
TNT amusement leg? Sale?
Oh, is that? I thought that was next week, or was it last night? Did I miss it? Did I miss it? I looked through. Todd posted it on Clav, the list of what was for sale, and there was only like a couple things I thought that were particularly interesting.
Going on right now, apparently.
Right now,
really?
Oh man.
Oh yeah,
he keeps doing that to us.
Why?
Keeps doing that to us.
Don't mention that. We're going to lose half our audience.
Oh man, there's another auction coming up on Tuesday though. I think it's James Price on Facebook is going to be auctioning off a bunch of stuff. I think that's in the Atlantic Coast Arcade Collectors group on Facebook. So check that out. He posted today the stuff that he's got for sale. There are a couple things that were interesting to me, so I might be checking that out on Tuesday night. And again, sorry, Chance is being upstaged again by Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger, with a $999 million super chat donation. Ezekiel's always a very generous supporter of the channel and the podcast. Also an Overtime Arcade channel member. Ezekiel says, "What's up, everyone? I recently purchased a prototype game. Interesting. I'll share more once I get it. I think it's one of 4. Ooh, I'm gonna guess. What was the name of the prototype
Marathon?
version of Major Havoc? What was the name of the prototype?
Alpha.
That's
1.
my guess.
No, that went to Todd K.
No, he was only a lieutenant back then, so it's Lieutenant Havoc.
Type.
That's 2 for you, Kay.
Hey, you laughed, so.
Alpha 1. I thought it had a different name too.
Toil and Web.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Tholian Web. Yeah, that's my guess. So, but thank you so much, Ezekiel. And oh yeah, Stringer says the TNT auction just ended, so maybe we'll get some more folks showing up. But wouldn't it have been nice of Todd? So I don't know if you guys know this. The other folks here might know. When you do a live stream or any kind of live event on YouTube, you can set it to like send your viewers somewhere else when your thing ends. The problem is you have to know that in advance, right? You might be able to kind of change the settings live before you end, but it really wants you to set it up in advance. So if you've got like a video that you're premiering and you can set it to, I don't know if you can set it to auto premiere or whatever. But anyway. Enough with the delays. Let's go to Chance. Chance, any pickups lately up there in the Canadian arcade?
None. Absolutely zero.
Okay, cool. Moving
on.
Yeah, moving on. No, in the interest of time, go on. No.
Game room updates. Nothing's changed in the last month.
Well, I've got projects I'm currently working on, but as far as like updates in the last month, no. I've literally just been like working on things. Nothing that I've added or removed. So. Yeah, that's really no update there. Sorry.
Okay. Stringer says he purchased a prototype Golden Tee. Oh, beer camo. Oh, there we go. Is that recording or is that live? Is that a recording? There you go. I love it. I love it.
That's live. That's totally live. We can. Hi.
Jerry's also talking about a big win for the Canucks. Is that literally a hockey thing?
What, the Vancouver Canucks?
Yeah.
Is that the Vancouver Canucks he's talking about?
Looks like they beat the Predators 4-3 in overtime.
Ooh.
So there you go. There you go. There's some hockey talk for you.
It's not like they're going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals ever. That team's going to get sold before they.
The Flames going to make it?
No, God, no. Are you kidding? We're golfers. Like,
there you go.
What do you want from us?
All right, staying with Chance, let's talk about projects you're currently working on. I know last time you were talking all about the trials and tribulations of your tapper. So have you had a breakthrough with the tapper?
Yeah. To be clear, my wife's tapper. That's how it made it into the house.
Clear.
No.
Okay, fine.
Seriously.
And it's Vanessa? That's her name?
It's Vanessa's tapper. So, so I'm working on my tapper right now. I don't know if you know what these are.
They're the brass appointments. The cup holders. Kind of.
These are the reproduction ones. These are from, what is it? Tapped Out? Yeah. User on Clove. He made these, and they're basically resin cast versions of them that have been painted. I was actually able to get these from Jeff Willard over at Ozark Mountain Arcade. Jeff's a good friend of ours. Really, really nice dude. Super nice dude. And so now one thing interesting about these, the resin's not curing. Like, I mean, they're 3 years old since they were poured, but the resin's still not curing. So the paint on it is like, it's not taking spray paint very well. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to probably sand cast these, hopefully, I think, and then pour them in like a lightweight metal, like aluminum, or maybe something that I can actually bronze plate afterwards. So there's a thought going with that. And I've been trying some like new spray paint on them because the paint that just from Fitment, it's like scratching the paint off on them. So I've been trying some new types of spray paint and whatnot. This gold acrylic stuff. This stuff's actually awesome. It looks like actual gold, but again, it's just not staying on here really well. So I think I'm just going to have to get these cast. So there's that. There's the Sky Skipper build. We are a couple of PROMs away from doing the Sky Skipper build finish reveal thing. Just kind of waiting for those.
You want to talk about the Sky Skipper that's for sale on eBay right now?
Yeah, the board. Do you want to get my blood running? Okay, so this is a hotly contested thing with me. Yeah, it's good for ratings. Okay, so TNX boards are not Sky Skipper boards. TNX boards are internal development boards from Nintendo used for Sky Skipper and for Popeye. So what that board is that's on eBay right now is a TNX board with Kingfisher Syndicate stickers on it. It's a Popeye. I know this because my TNX board was also a Popeye board. So, and that's why if I ever sell my Sky Skipper, I'm never going to sell it with my TNX board, just because the board is worth more to me as what it is, not as a guy's version of a TNX board that's been converted to Sky Skipper. So. Yeah. What else am I working on? Wild Gunman. I have a Wild Gunman. I'm building a.
That's like a baby's game.
That's it. Yeah. You got to use your hands. So that's for those of you who don't know, or new to this, or don't know who I am. I work in film and television. So I was one half of the people responsible for The Last of Us, or for the games used on, My Life with the Walter Boys. And so I think it's kind of poetic that one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Back to the Future, well, the series, they're all just great. One of my favorite movies of all time, the person who would have been in my job back in the day in 89, I think, when that was filmed, 88, would have been the guy that built and operated the Wild Gunman on set. And because I'm also a Nintendo collector, this Nintendo shirt, I would think that it's just absolutely poetic for me to have a Wild Gunman. So I'm working on that right now. And speaking of like parts and stuff that I'm looking for, we'll get into that later. But Wild Gunman's the third game that's going through the paces right now.
Very cool. Very cool. We got a lot of more people coming into the live chat here, maybe because Todd Tuckey went off the air. We got Alan Brady. What's up? We got, who else we got here? We got a few other folks. Where am I? I'm sort of all over the place. Whoa, I'm way past. Arcade Alex, Arcade Maze, Overtime Arcade channel member there. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a major announcement, huge news. Prime Arcade, who is the largest arcade-related channel on TikTok, has just become an Overtime Arcade channel member. So because of his very generous $1.99 a month contribution to my channel, he's going to continue to enjoy early access to all new videos. He's going to get to join our monthly members-only live stream, which we don't really censor. We don't really edit. There's a lot of hard cuss words being dropped, not necessarily by me. Because another thing we do on the monthly members-only live stream is I dial in the Discord voice chat so people can join the live stream audio and talk to me. We do all kinds of stuff, right? And he gets access to the Overtime Arcade private members only Discord. I just sent him the link for that, so he will entertain all of us with his wit and wisdom over there. So thank you so much for that, Kay.
That's right. If I ever start watching your videos, I can start watching them early. I just joined because I was told that people talk about me in the Discord, and I need to be able to defend myself.
That's right.
You spent that money to defend yourself.
I might have to go back and
edit a few things you said about me. Yeah.
We also have Nick, and I don't know if it's because it's so I want to say Andrea, but I work with 3 women who all spell their name the same way, and they all pronounce Andrea differently. So there's Andrea, and I forget how the third one does it. So I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. So Nick and I'm guessing Andrea Hills, they recently subscribed to my channel. They have a very large YouTube channel. They're based in the UK. They do a lot of buying and selling, like eBay and whatnot, and that sort of stuff. I didn't even know that that whatnot was in the UK, but really appreciate y'all watching us. I'm assuming it's probably very in the wee hours of the morning over in the UK. And Nick and Andrea say, watching here in the UK, loved arcades here in the 80s and early 90s. Bubble Bobble as a personal favorite. Do you all have a favorite arcade game? People have been chiming in there. For me, it's always kind of going between Robotron and Donkey Kong and Tempest. And I know that's a bit of a cop-out. I don't know, guys, if you want to open your mics and chime in there real fast on what your favorite games are.
Hard to pin down on a particular game, as I mentioned in the chat. Firefox, Robotron, Major Havoc are very much favorites for me. I know Qbert is, without a doubt, Sam's favorite video game. Adam's Family is her favorite pinball. There's so many good options in different genres. It's hard to narrow down.
Yeah, like how do you just pick one?
It's very easy. My favorite is Final Fight.
Wow. All right. See, like, and that's your final answer?
That's my final answer, although I will say Bubble Bobble does hold a special place in my heart because it's the first arcade machine I ever owned.
Okay, fair. I would say like my Sheriff for sure. My Donkey Kong for sure. I don't know. I don't really let games into my arcade unless they're like good or favorite games of mine.
Right? Like they have to be on the list to get in.
Yeah.
The only exception to that was Firefox, and that turned out to be my favorite game, one of them in the arcade.
Yeah, it's like calling something a holy grail in my book. Like, I don't know.
We've got our list. Sometimes things get on the list if we play them somewhere and really enjoy them, but we don't get things usually that are not already on that list.
Yeah, 100%. I'll lock in my answer: Sheriff and Donkey Kong.
There you go. Even narrower equivocation. Nick and Andrea say Golden Axe is theirs, and I'm way behind in the chat here. Who else we got joining us? We had Brandon C joining. Excuse me. And I think that's everybody jumping in. Some folks trying to goad Chance into becoming an Overtime Arcade channel member. We got Metropolis joining in. Jeffrey May is a channel member, and awesome. Okay, so I think we were at Kay. What are you currently working on? What's on your bench? What's in the restoration queue right now, Kay?
So what I am mostly done with is a baby Pac-Man. It was one I had worked on a few years ago, so it was already mostly working. I had replaced the MPU with a brand new one several years ago, and done most of the preventative maintenance to it and everything. The monitor was out of sync, so I repaired the monitor, got it looking really good. And when I was in the process of cleaning everything up and putting it back together, my video board died. I'm pretty sure I have it narrowed down to just one bad chip. So I've got some chips ordered, but they're coming from Canada, so of course they're taking forever. And as soon as that one chip, yeah, it's your fault, by the way.
Yeah.
As you people, if you could get it together, give me my chips.
We're going to have a chat about this.
I'm pretty sure as soon as I put that one chip in there and replace it, everything should fire back up and be ready to go. So everything else is already done to it. I just need to replace the one chip to get the game to boot again. There's the Black Pyramid that I mentioned earlier. It's got some weird intermittent MPU issues. I swapped out a lot of different parts with spare MPUs that I had lying around, and I could get the problem to get better or worse, but I couldn't get it to go away. So I just ordered a replacement MPU so I could just eliminate that altogether and just have nice, consistent booting every single time. Once I've done that, pretty much everything else is done on that. I did a sale recently of 6 arcade machines to some local people that want to open their own business, their own establishment.
Cool.
And those are the first few machines that they bought to start a collection going. 4 of them were machines that were in my showroom ready to go, and 2 of them are projects I hadn't even started on yet. So they also bought a Centipede and an Akari Warriors that I haven't done anything with. The Akari Warriors works. It's playable, except one of the rotary joysticks doesn't rotary. But I have a Hickory 3 project machine just kind of buried that I can steal the sticks from, so I can get a replacement from that. And the Centipede needs all new side art, needs new control panel overlay. The board needs to be repaired. The monitor needs to be repaired because it's playing blind. So it basically needs to be rebuilt from the bottom up. But they looked at it, decided they want it, and so I've got all the artwork in, and I'm probably going to get started on that next week so they can have a nice Centipede as well. You can expect videos and all that stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff. And not to upstage you, Kay, but you are no longer the newest Overtime Arcade channel member. We also have yet another member from our...
Take my money.
There you go, from Canada. We've actually got quite a few, including recently joined Canadian channel members, and or the one and only Chance Johnson is the newest one. So thank you, Chance, for becoming a channel member.
So what you're saying is I'm a trendsetter, and you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to drive it home to Liam because he's, I think, the only one of us that isn't yet.
What? Oh, I was a member before either of you.
Wait, who was holding out of the two of you? I can't remember. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You turned code on me because I was holding out, and so now we all are.
Oh, way to make it about you.
It creates a moral hazard now. It's going to be awkward when I have to cut his mic and pay his fines to the Canadian Active Choices and Voices. It's crazy. And Brandon C in the live chat asks, where's Macho Man? So it's funny you mentioned that because I'll be talking about that in a couple minutes. Something I think has come back to bite me.
Did you get shut down by a copyright violation from
no
whatever his name is?
Oh wait, we forgot to talk. So I totally skipped myself. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna do a double answer. But I think if you're good, we'll go to Liam with projects you're currently working on, and then I'll provide my answers for the first two questions.
So projects I'm currently working on. Remember that free battle zone? It's the free battle zone. As I said, it's totally dead. The only thing in there that seems to work is the power brick and the AR. So I got the boards on the bench. They're toast, and it's going to be a huge hassle to pull those boards out and put them back in the cabinet to test them because they're two quite large boards, only put together on a ribbon cable. They're not stacked or anything. So what I've been doing is my current project is I am building a full test harness to give it all the power it needs on the bench, so I can have it hooked up to my oscilloscope and display and cat box all at once and see what I can do to exercise the vector graphics section, because I think that is my current problem, as I have fixed the ROM and the RAM and the processor, and it is still watchdogging. So almost certainly something is wrong in the state machine, and we will get there eventually. Which
by hook or by crook.
By hook or by crook. I'm determined to get those original boards working, so we can get to that monitor. It's cleaned up nicely.
No red zone, no nothing.
No red zone. Not doing a Raspberry Pi in there. Not doing a Teensy.
Hater.
We will get it going, and it will look very nice. It has the step. It has the front periscope. It does not have a hole in the side. But I have been so far,
which is a thing.
Which is a thing. So, I see the confused look from.
Yeah. Have we figured out what that hole is? For those of you who don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like very likely
speed holes.
The hole is for putting a second monitor on the top of the game.
Oh, really?
That seems to be the current theory. Like
the
Dragon's
side
Lair,
of the cabinet
to get a cable up there. Yeah.
Why would you?
Because otherwise nobody can see what you're doing when you're playing with the scope.
No, I get that, but like, why would it be like? Wouldn't that would be something that would be on the back of the cabinet?
You think? But apparently, I mean, they were plugged up at the factory. So, and I think there are images out there of Battlezone with a screen on top and advertising material.
That's weird to me, because like you, as someone who operates a little bit, if I had a Battlezone out on location and they had that hole on the side and I had the cable running up to the secondary monitor, some stupid little kid is just going to come over and rip on that. Like,
what I also learned about Battlezone and moving it is I just did not expect how tall that game is.
Okay, so some teenager would come over and rip on that. Yeah.
It is way taller than I expected. It fit
Oh,
in
yeah.
the car with millimeters to spare. It is massive.
Well, that's why it's got that little step so that you can step up and see it.
It's also for apparently structural stability. Even though it was an option, removing the step causes the cabinet to be more likely to tip over forward, which is something you don't want to have.
Well, pro tip: we almost crushed Josh on HBO working for HBO with one of those. So
yeah, the Battle Zone.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't have a Battle Zone, but Atari used that step in other cabinets. So the Primal Rage that I have here has a little step at the bottom because that is a top heavy cabinet, and without that step I think it would be even more off balance.
I have a fun story about Battlezone. I had one once that I was taking to auction to sell, and my truck broke down on the way there, and I had to have my truck towed with the Battlezone still in the back, and I got it back halfway home and had to store it in my parents' living room for a couple of weeks until I could repair the truck and come back and get it.
I thought you were going to say that like you had the truck towed, and then when you went back to get the look in the back of the truck, it was gone when you got it.
I took that to mean he was storing the truck in his parents' living room.
Where do you think Liam got his free Battlezone?
It fell off the back of a truck somewhere.
Yeah, that was like 6 years ago, and you stole it like recently? That's weird.
Some dude's just passing it along.
It's a statute of limitations have expired.
Really got first-hand experience with how heavy the thing was because it had to lift it vertically out of a basement. Basically, it was that one of those doors that the ones that open on the top. I was told it's only like 6 steps, and I didn't realize it was not 6 steps of a staircase, but 6 steps of a ladder. Oof. So that was fun. Well worth it though.
Very cool. And Kay, I think something you said a couple moments ago was very prescient because Chance is no longer the newest Overtime Arcade channel member. We now have the Wicked Arcade, who I believe his first name is JoJo. Wicked Arcade just became a channel member. Thanks so much for the support. After the podcast, I'll send you a PM with the Discord invite link. But really appreciate your support, JoJo.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Your kickback check will be in the mail by no later than 2034.
Kickback checks.
And if you guys are not subscribed to the Wicked Arcade, I'll throw a link real quick. Wicked Arcade. I'll throw a link into the video description or into the live chat. So, all right. So make sure you are subscribed to JoJo. Awesome. We got a couple other people joining in to live chat. We've got Joystick Rick Sherrill. Who else? We have Scott Brockway, a new Overtime Arcade channel member as well. So thank you all for that. So I forgot to answer the question myself, the first one, which was recent pickups in game room updates. So no surprises to reveal. You've seen the videos. I think I talked about the food fight last time, the Irish food fight, which is right back there somewhere. The Primal Rage, which I actually got for free. So I'll be restoring the food fight for myself. The Primal Rage, I got it for free. It's working. It needs new artwork. I got that delivered. I ordered it from Galloping Ghost Reproductions. The first time I've ordered from Galloping Ghost Reproductions. Haven't even opened the box yet. Got to open it up and get everything flattened and ready to go. So that should be a relatively quick fix. And lately, I've been getting skunked on deals, right? So there were a couple of games that I'm still looking at. They're very close to me. I think both of them are within 45 minutes from me, and they've been up for months and months and months and months and months. I remember these from like before Christmas, before Halloween. These games are for sale. They're still available. I had never, I just saved them on Facebook Marketplace, never threw an offer. There was another game. There was a $200 Tato Space Invaders trim line that I really wanted, and I saw it, and I immediately contacted the seller. And this was like at 9:00 at night, I think on Friday. I'm like, hey, I'll take it. When can I pick it up? He's like, I'm at my house right now. You can come get it now. And I'm like, I live 3 hours away, so you probably don't want me coming to your house after midnight. Why don't I come up tomorrow after my kids, Little League game, maybe early evening? And he said, okay, right. He said, well, I don't know exactly when I'm going to be at my house, but, and I said, okay, well, I'll message you in the afternoon tomorrow. You'll figure out what the right time is. He says, cool. So in my mind, we've kind of got a deal worked out, right? Like I know, it's never done until money has changed hands or you've got the game, loaded up. And so I'm sitting there, the game just started, it's first inning. So I figure, okay, I got about an hour and a half or two before I can leave. Let me get things going with this guy. And I go into the thread on Messenger, and I notice the status of the thing has been changed to sold. The listing has been changed to sold. So I'm like, oh, hey, I see that you marked it sold. That's probably because you and I have worked out a deal, right? So how's 7 o'clock looking for? Yeah. How's 7 o'clock looking for a pickup? And he's like, sorry, I sold it. So what I did was, this is sort of like, so that's fine. It happens, right? So what I did was, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, when you miss out on something that you want, when you miss
Committed
out on
murder?
something that you want, no, when you miss out on something that you really want,
begin with,
and you had your sort of like, the previous 12 hours, you've kind of had your heart set on it, right? You did some research and whatever, right? And this thing was nice. It needed a new CPO. And he said it recently just stopped working entirely. So I'm assuming something power related. It had the lower, the coin door, which you never have. Those are always missing, right? And this is the Taito Slimline, right?
Yeah.
I ended up seeing somebody post that picked it up. Like he posted on Facebook, and I guess like he said he got it working immediately, and like there's just a button that needed to be cleaned or something, right?
It's a fuse.
It was a fuse or whatever, right? Or maybe something got disconnected. So in my state of vulnerability, being missing out on this, I went through my saved items list in Facebook Marketplace. So all the things that you tag and mark for later, and I went to there's a kicks that had been converted to Mr. Do, and a track and field that had been converted at least twice, once to Airwolf because it still had an Airwolf CPO, but it had Russian Attack, in it. Both of these were working games, relatively cheap. I threw them lowball offers. One person, all they did was counter with just like not even a dollar sign, just a dollar amount, right? And I sent a nice polite paragraph and nothing, and they left me on red. And the track and field seller didn't even read my message, right? So got skunked on those. And then so I felt, I was like, I had like gotten everything squared away with my wife where, hey, like right after the game, I'm going to leave. I'll take one or two of the kids and I'll go, and like everything was squared away. I had that sort of like, the thumbs up to, spend the evening out doing that. And I was totally wasted. Right. So I asked for permission to do that, and I didn't even get to use it. So, and then with the next day, I think it might've been Liam who posted a link to a pretty cheap Galaga project. And I think within 20 minutes of this thing being posted, I contacted the seller, and again left on red. So lately, I've been having not so good luck making deals. And was it Brandon C who was asking about this earlier, saying, "Where's Macho Man?" Part of my theory on why my deal making on Facebook Marketplace has not been successful lately is because I've been using my Macho Man Randy Savage avatar as my profile picture. So I might have to go back to a normal, regular human being as my profile picture.
They're much too intimidated by you.
Yeah, because
a little bit, right?
I see that. I trust that. Like
they don't want Macho Madness running wild on them. I get it, right? I get it.
Oh my god,
pain train. So the other game room update, which hasn't happened yet, but I think I have a deal worked out to trade my armor attack to somebody who will appreciate it more than I do. I will leave it at that. And I'll have something else coming my way that I think I will appreciate more than Armor Tech, which is a great game. My kids haven't played it as much as I thought. And it just gets harder. Like nothing really changes from level to level to level. So we'll leave that at that for now.
Come on.
I know. Let's see. Jerry Voluptuous coming back with another $499 million super chat donation. Jerry says, Wicked Arcade is my daddy. And Jerry is Jerry is, I think, I'll have to go back and check my records. Jerry is the first US based channel member on my channel. Believe it or not, my first two channel members, both in Norway. I think that's like the entire classic arcade collecting community in Norway. I could be wrong. But my first two channel members were from Norway. So I think Jerry was my first US based channel member. So he's been a huge supporter of the channel and the podcast. Jerry's awesome. And Jerry's also correct. Wicked Arcade is a great channel too, so make sure you subscribe to that. Yeah, Arcade May says Charlie was looking for a rebound game. That's exactly what I was looking for. It's exactly what I was looking for. You know, back before I was married, you know, back in the day, maybe I get, you know, dumped, or a girl I was asking out turned me down. Immediately you're going to go to, okay, well, what are my other options? Who can I take out Friday night instead? Right. But nothing happened. But yes, thank you, Jerry, for your support. Really, really appreciate it. And then in terms of projects that I'm currently working on, so one part of my focus the last month or so has been prepping games that I'm going to loan to my buddy Mark, who runs a shop. Him and his wife Danny, they run a shop in Winchester, Virginia called Back to the Media. They sell used records and video games and comic books and that sort of stuff. And they're opening up, I've talked about this a ton, they're opening up a classic arcade in their back room. They've got like 30 or 40 games. They need a couple more to kind of fill everything out. And there's a couple games that I'm going to let them borrow, Superman and Sly Spy, basically just like filler games, right? Until they can sort of fill them in with games that they really want. The Primal Rage is also going to be heading to Mark's Arcade. My second Cubert is going to be going to Mark's Arcade. So I've been working on those. I did a cap kit on the K7000 and the Superman. I've got to put some free play mods into the Sly Spy and the Superman because they don't have built-in free play. I got to put the repro artwork from Galloping Ghost and the Primal Rage, and I've been really working on the Cubert cabinet for the past couple of weeks. It's right over there. Actually, I can smell the Bondo. That's one thing my wife doesn't like when I work on stuff in the garage, and for the next day or so, the garage will smell like Bondo or what's that? Did my video freeze?
You're just cutting out like crazy.
Oh, am I really? Well, sorry. I don't have it.
Is that me?
Am I good now? Is it good now?
Oh,
I
Liam,
haven't heard any cutting out from Charlie.
Really?
Maybe it's that Calgary dial-up. It's that Calgary dial-up.
That's me then. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going. My bad.
I'll play your dial-up again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait. Hold on. Wait.
It's him. He's trying to reconnect. 36. Yeah, she hates it when the garage the next day smells like Bondo or isopropyl alcohol or spray paint or whatever. But been working on the that second Cubert, the one from Mark. You know, I use fiberglass Bondo for the first time for a really hard stress point that I need to get really, really nice and secure. And I've been trying to get a monitor working for that. I've been working on a Cortec KTN 2001 monitor that I want to use in the Cubert, which obviously is it's still 19-inch, standard res CRT, obviously not period correct for a Cubert, but this is going to be a J-Rock Cubert. So I think it's okay to have, I would never put an LCD in it, but things like that, it doesn't have to be a 4900 or something like that. But I've been working on that. And that monitor has been kicking my butt. That video I released today, a lot of trials and tribulations of trying to get that monitor back to life. I know Liam also has a Cortec monitor that's dead that he's been struggling with. So
I haven't see what happens in a while.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. And then I'll take the prerogative here just to roll, and I'll give my answer for the third sort of standard update, which is upcoming plans, including any parts, etc., that you're looking for. So. I've been talking about it for a while. I want to get the Miss Pac-Man, done. I've been literally working on that project for going on 2 years. I was waiting on the stencils from this old game, which I do have now. And I found somebody on Facebook that just did a really nice job re-stenciling theirs. And they've got current paint codes that they had matched for Miss Pac-Man. So I'm going to get that done. And then the games for Mark's Arcade that I've been working on. So that's pretty good. I'm also excited to work on my own Cubert. I think that'll probably be in the slot that Armor Attack leaves. And for a while, I've been talking about how I need a glass bezel for the Jungle King that I'm working on. That's right here somewhere. I just got one of those from Overtime Arcade channel member Photo Boy, so really appreciate that. I got to send him something back in return. And I also got a Food Fight joystick. So that was something that I've been looking for. I sold a bunch of parts. I'd already gotten because Food Fight is not a cheap restoration, especially if it's a deconversion. So I had to raise funds to go ahead.
Was it $500 shipped?
No. Well, so that would have been a decent price for that would have been a decent price for the PCB, but I actually got it for less than 500 shipped, which is actually a really good deal for what Food Fight PCBs usually go for. And then the joystick, I had somebody ask for 500 plus shipping for a Food Fight joystick, and I'm like, they don't go for that much. So I got a really good deal on one. I think they based, and we'll get into this a little bit. They based their price, what they asked for, on one of the last ones that I'd sold on of a similar condition, you know, so like complete, but like the, you know, grommets blown out, which is pretty common. And it was sold by the guy that owns Game Galaxy in Nashville. I think his name is Jason. He goes by Dream TR, and he always sells stuff for really, really reasonable prices. And so I got this Food Fight joystick for $175, which sounds like a lot for a joystick, but compared to what sometimes Food Fights go for, that is a great deal. So I've got that stuff. The biggest thing that I probably still need is for the chicken shift that I'm restoring. I need a complete Balicente setup. So PCB sled sort of thing. I need the power supply and all that. I know there's a couple out there. I've been talking to Charles Klein about maybe getting one, but if somebody has one for super cheap, I'd be happy to talk to you, especially if I've got something you need for a trade. But yeah, and other than that, I recently did my 4,000 subscribers thank you public live stream, and I'm coming up on 4,000. So I'll be doing another public live stream sometime soon. I would suspect by the end of next month, I'll be at 4,000. So we'll do another live stream there, which is always a ton of fun, and appreciate all the support from everyone. We had some more folks jump in, including Coin Op Corner. He must have heard us talking about him about an hour ago, a little bit less than an hour ago, about the video that we expect to be coming soon from Coin Op Corner. So good to see you joining in, Jeremiah. And yo, Eddie in the house. So yeah, let's see. Let's kick it then to Liam with upcoming plans, parts you're looking for, games you're looking for, anything like that.
That free battle zone still there. Fixing that is the upcoming project. We've got some other things that I'm going to be doing. Solar Fox needs some audio work. I've got cap kits for that because it's popping and crackling, and one of the channels is going out. So that needs a little bit of help. Hubert is throwing some issues because we've left it unattended for so long. We've been so busy with work on things. We hadn't been in the arcade for 2 weeks when we came back in, and Hubert did not want to turn on.
Hubert's almost as fickle as a color vector.
Hubert, the monitor is going out, which is really weird for me because I capped that monitor and I put a new flyback on that monitor, and now it's just shutting off. So I have to pull that and look at it. But I just think it's throwing a fit because we haven't played it in 2 weeks. Because as soon as we rebooted it and started playing it, it was fine. So I don't know. That's coming up. But the Battle Zone, I don't think I need any parts right now. Loosely looking for a Midway linear power supply for the Solar Fox and maybe another Atari brick. But I don't need anything specifically right now. Just hoping I can figure out that Battle Zone. That's the next thing.
Very cool. Okay. And I'm looking forward to playing it the next time I'm at your house. Okay. Kay, upcoming plans. What do you need? What are you looking for? What's next for Prime Arcade?
So I mentioned earlier that I'd sold a bunch of games to some local people that were opening their own arcade, but they cleared out most of my showroom in the process. I try to keep about 10 games in there for sale, and right now I've got 3. So the focus right now is getting projects up and running and getting them into the showroom. You'll see videos for all these things, but I have another Centipede to get up and running for that. I've got a Tempest, a Robotron, a House of the Dead, and a Japanese showcase style cabinet.
Ooh.
A Off-Road Thunder, a Jurassic Park 3, a Cruisin' World, and a pair of Cruisin' USAs. So I've got plenty of stuff in line to start working on to get slots filled in the showroom. And there's plenty more other projects sitting behind those things. Those are just the ones that are easiest to get to right now. So geographically, those are the ones that are going to be worked on next. I also had a trophy hunting, just a basic hunting game that I had already completely done and in the showroom, and my monitor died. It was a Hunter-X Polo. So I've spent a little bit of time playing with that, and at some point I had to walk away before I put my foot through it. So at some point after I've calmed down, I'll come back to it and see if I can get that going, or if I can just throw it off a balcony and find a replacement for it.
It's funny you mention that, because my buddy Russ, who's also a channel member, he sent me a PM today of a game he picked up, and the first thing he showed me was, the back door off, showed me a picture of the monitor, and it says right there, Polo. And I respond with just gross, right? It's like, why would you say that? And I'm like, because polos have a terrible reputation. He's never had one. He's more like Bronze Age, early Golden Age, and this is a Dynamo. It's got a Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat 2 on a switcher with a polo monitor, but it's all working, and he got a great deal, and the guy actually delivered it to him. So
you're reminding me that I've got a Hunter-X MTC in the garage in a Konami cabinet that I have procrastinated working on, because I recapped it and it got worse. So I don't know.
I haven't had as much bad experiences with the MTCs. It's strictly the polos that I have maybe a 50-50 success rate on repairing. I've got another cabinet in the shop that's just like, it's a Williams Universal, so it's giant. It used to have a 4-player game in it at one point, and then of course it got turned into a Golden Tee. But it's got a 25-inch tube in it that fits a K7000, and I do have a K7000 chassis that doesn't work, but I can get those working. If I can get that monitor up and working, I might put that in there instead, and then do a video of me throwing the monitor off of my second story.
A Polo darn near killed John's Arcade, right? I can't remember if it was a Polo. It was a Hunter-X in that little bar top World Cinematronics World Series. So there, Hunter-X has been in my garage, and it kind of worked. I was able to get an image on the screen. It wasn't right, but I wasn't like fixing it or anything. But yeah, it's Polos and Matsushitas, and I would even put Cortex in that bucket.
I had a Polo damn near kill me once.
How?
Well, Josh and I, this is like 7 years ago.
Did it fall off a building as you were walking by?
No, this isn't Acme. Like,
was it water polo and you got a cramp?
I ate before I played. So when we moved into this house first, we tried to do like a little arcade thing for all of our friends. And Josh will remember this. We were downstairs in what would become my basement arcade, and swapping monitors and frames and whatnot to get this big what is the Namco big black cabinet, the ones that Soul Edge were in. We were trying to swap out frames and chassis and everything to get a working monitor in that, and the thing bit me twice. I got shocked by that Polo twice. The first time I just kind of like took 5 minutes and we went back to it, and then like the second time I arced across, it hit my arm, and it's just like I glazed over, and I was like, I'm done for the day. Like we're
Did
done.
you get superpowers?
Because we were no, I got stupider. We were rushing, like it was our fault, but anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Polo monitors. What are you gonna do? Maybe that can be an upcoming episode title. Which monitors do we hate the most? I think we might have done a little bit of that already with when I was dealing with the Matsushita.
And I've spoken about my feelings on Polos, and I am willing to do so again.
There you go. We got Angelina, who is also a very new Overtime Arcade channel member, long-term viewer, long-term supporter. I'll even highlight her comment here saying, "Hey, Charlie and guys," waving to us. Angelina, appreciate it. I think that's her first podcast with the little badge for being a channel member, little sheriff's badge right there. Awesome. Appreciate your support. So yeah, last but not least, Chance, what do you got cooking with upcoming plans? What's coming up next in the Canadian arcade?
As far as like the channel goes, or parts I'm looking for?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Whatever I want to talk about.
The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Okay, so wanted, dead or alive, I need those, those little black like clips for the monitor on a
Yes.
Midway game. Yeah,
Yep.
I need those. So that's the first thing I'm looking for. So if anyone has a set of 4 of those with screws,
Arcade Shop doesn't sell those.
Arcade Shop doesn't sell to Canada. That's why I sent that order to you. We'll talk about this in a minute.
I know, but you can sense.
Yeah, well, okay, we'll get it. Yeah. So Wild Gunman Play Choice 10 cart. Charlie,
I do have one.
Yeah, but you don't want to.
I don't know if I want to get rid of it.
You don't want to get rid of that unless you absolutely need to. So unless it gets like,
because you can order repro PC10 carts. That's the thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the game is a Wild Gunman cabinet. At least one of the cartridges should be legit. And then Liam's probably thinking in his head, well, he bought a Red Alert board. So Dynamo cut corner control panel, the 23.5-inch one. If anybody has a spare one of those, hopefully something that's not completely Swiss cheese. I have a rally bike, this Taito rally bike. Have you played that game? Really fun overhead like race game, kind of like
Super Sprint.
What is it like?
Or
I can't remember. Anyway,
Ivan Ironman Super Off-Road. Super Off-Road.
No, it's like Spy Hunter. It's like Spy Hunter. You're like over top and you're racing down the road. And so anyway, so I've got a rally bike cabinet. It's just an HS2 Dynamo cabinet, and it doesn't have any side art with it because I don't even think there was any rally bike side art back in the 90s. But I've got a marquee, a control panel, and a bezel on this cabinet and the board. And so I was thinking about it because I recently built a buddy of mine a bubble cabinet because it's like his game. And so like I had to, he's like one of my best friends. Like the dude who's in my wedding party kind of thing. And Cody just loved that game. So I was thinking like when we were building it, I'm like, well, he's got 2 boards. Like, what if I just get that other board off him and build a bubble myself? So we have one in the basement. So all I need basically is that. And then I can go back to Arcade Art Shop in the UK and get the rest of a second art kit because he makes great stuff. So so that's what I'm looking for is one of those.
I have to place an order with Ollie soon too. So if you want.
No, man, I'm not shipping that to the States. Like we'll talk about it, but like to be honest with you, if you're in Canada, and you need to ship, something from the UK, I can get it here in like 3 days. If I need something from
some like
your
Commonwealth
country,
back
I think so.
Deal?
Yeah, because like if I need something from like the package you just sent me the other day that you straw shipped me, that was like an extra week.
See, this is the one downside that we got by declaring independence early.
Yeah.
The one and only downside.
You could have not declared independence. You could have just let the country give up. Anyway, so the other thing I need, and this is what I need more than anything, is a single monitor PlayChoice 10 harness.
Doesn't Ron and Joe from Joe's Classic Video Games, I thought they had posted one of those for sale somewhat recently. I know they were selling a bunch of PlayChoice 10 parts.
Do you have a link for that? Because I'm going to
klov.com.
Oh, come on. I don't spend time on
google.co.ca.
You can't expect this man to do all the work for you.
Dude, I so totally missed that then. Hold on. I'm going to have to. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking for to be official. Midway monitor clips, PC10 Wild Gunman cartridge, Dynamo cut corner panel, control panel, and a single monitor PlayChoice harness. Maybe we'll see here in a minute. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, go on. I'm going to go on Clov right now. Hold on.
Trying to find a proper emoji for the live chat, but I think I don't have time for that.
Yeah, Encore Arcade says Chris has one as well, but I didn't see. Chris just posted a bunch of stuff on Facebook and like cartridges and a board, but he didn't have a harness.
Regular listeners to the Coin Jam podcast are all probably shaking their heads right now, but we'll get you caught up later. A chance. And oh, by the way, you lost your name sort of logo there when your wanted list went up.
Just send him a link to episode 3.
There you go. Our most watched episode. But there you go. All right. So with all that out of the way, let's move on to the main topic of this evening, which, as the title of the episode alludes to, $500 shipped, is all about pricing and shipping and all the stuff involved with wheeling and dealing, buying and selling, acquiring, delivering, everything. So first we'll talk about prices, and sort of the framing for this discussion is, what's fair, right? Whether you're the buyer or the seller, what makes a fair price for any of these machines or any of the important, parts in them, not like retail stuff, not new reproduction stuff. That's kind of a different thing. But, if you need a PCB or a monitor chassis or, a food fight joystick, how do you figure out what a fair price is? What sort of information do you use to determine that? If you're the buyer or the seller, how do you figure that out? What kind of leeway do you give up in negotiations for condition or quality or rarity or whatever? How do you determine what you're willing to pay for a machine? And how does like cosmetic damage and restoration status and missing pieces and whatever factor into that? And maybe first we will go to the only one of us here who's really a professional when it comes to this sort of thing, which is Kay. And I think in terms of volume, he has had more machines, go through his possession, coming and going than probably all of us combined, right? So Kay, what kind of Chance can barely reach it anymore. His hand-eye coordination's off. So Kay, what goes into your thought process? What makes a good deal to you? How do you determine how much you're willing to buy to acquire a project? How do you decide how much to charge for something you're selling? Just walk us through that thought process.
So I'll talk about buying stuff first. A lot of the machines that I find are just on like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or places like that. I also get a lot of word of mouth and just people just kind of forwarding things to me. Is like, hey, my buddy's got this machine he's trying to get rid of. Can I give him your number? Things like that. Just a lot of referrals. Mostly, I determine what kind of condition it's in and what it's doing just through text and pictures. I want pictures of the machine from every angle, the inside, what does it do when it's plugged in, and I will come up with a number, an offer just based off of that. If I get there and the machine is not exactly as advertised, I usually walk away because I'm not going to sit there and try to talk the price down. I hate whenever people show up and they start pointing out the flaws of something and be like, well, I mean, you got this thing here, this thing's wrong, blah, 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 blah. And they try to talk you down on the price. I'm not that kind of guy. If we agreed upon a price and I get there and it's the same machine you showed me pictures of and there's no special surprises, I make the deal, I take the machine, I leave. And if it's not, I don't take the machine and I leave. And that's typically how it goes.
What if you drove 3 hours one way?
I don't drive 3 hours one way to a machine that I don't know is going to be what I'm going for. Very rarely do I make deals for anything like that from a stranger. Usually if I'm going to drive that kind of distance, it's someone that I've already done business with before. And I know that they're going to be on the up and up when it comes to what they're selling me. For the most part, everything I buy is much more local than that. There are some other cases than that, but I make sure to get all my questions answered and everything before I ever even make the offer. So it's very rare that I show up and find something that's not at all what they showed me or not at all in the condition that they showed me. I also don't ask for like proof of anything working or anything like that because I'm probably buying the game broken anyway. Especially if the game is broken, like, oh, they say it plays blind. Well, I don't want to plug it in and have them prove it to me that it plays blind. Because what if they plug it in and it works and now they want more money?
Yeah.
I'm assuming I'm buying a project, so I'm just going to buy the project and leave. And it's only been a couple of times that I've gotten it back and parts were missing or it wasn't complete or whatever. Usually I look through it first to make sure that's not the case.
And as a businessman, right, you're trying to do this profitably, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think about, well, once I finish this, I think I can sell it for X amount.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I know it's going to take, Y amount of parts, Z amount of labor, and then you want to have, some profit margin there. So does that sort of say, okay, well, then I need to be at this is my sort of bottom line for what I'm willing to acquire this cabinet for? Do you do that like explicitly every time, or is that just sort of like a rough, approximation in your head?
It's pretty much in my head every time, but it usually comes down to pretty much that formula. Okay, this is the amount that I would pay for this project. This is the kind of parts that I would need to throw into it. So here's the approximate cost of that. This is the amount of time I would need to do those repairs. And this is the amount that I can sell it for when it's done. So if all that math adds up, I'll make the purchase. If it doesn't seem like I can make any money off of it, then I won't. And I walked away from several deals that weren't bad, but there was no profit to be made because I'm not buying anything for myself. If it was something for myself that I would more or less end up breaking even, I might make that deal just because I've got a nice machine that I've worked on that's now in my collection and I know everything about it. But I'm not really buying anything for myself. This is all purely to pay my bills. So if there's no room for me to make any money, I don't make the deal. And there's lots of things I've had to turn down just because there was no profit margin or not enough of a profit margin to justify the amount of time and work that would go into it.
And when you're buying something that was posted publicly, right, and rather than a seller going to you directly and saying, seeing your online presence or a posting and saying, hey, I want to sell you something, when it's a public listing, how often are you competing with other buyers? And does that sort of change things where once you sort of realize that you're in a competition, you back out because a hobbyist isn't really caring as much about kind of the profit margin there? So what does that look like?
Very rarely do I end up in a bidding war with anyone else. Typically I'm not going to offer more money than what it is unless it's an absolutely fantastic deal, and even by upping the price I'm still getting a great deal. That's pretty rare. Usually the best thing to do is if you're not the first one to answer the ad, be the first one that's got cash in hand and the truck in their driveway, because that trumps any other deal that they made with anyone else. Because if you're there and you got the cash in hand, and I almost always can immediately drop what I'm doing and go get it.
So you're the one who's skunking.
You're the one, yeah. You're the one who's always scooping people.
I have a friend.
If you'd like to see my video on this slimline Taito that I just picked up.
You just became public enemy number one for a lot of people.
No, it's okay. I've seen a couple slim lines come up for sale, and every time I'm like, is this the same one? Like there's one that somebody's asking $2,000 for, right? Which is a little bit crazy.
A little?
But I do have a friend who, at least once that I know of, and I am assuming if they've done it once, they've done it more than once, they have seen a public listing on Facebook Marketplace where it's they're listing, and it's a small town, right? It's not like New York City, right? It's a small town, and they've got their real name, and they just like looked up their address and showed up on like a weekend afternoon with a truck and like walked up and knocked on the door, and it worked.
What?
And there one time, apparently, like the person's like, "Hey, are you Bill?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Bill." He's not Bill, and they got sold it. Now this wasn't prepaid. So it's not like Bill paid for it and this guy picked it up.
How does Bill feel about this?
I don't know. But Bill had worked out a deal, and he got there like half an hour before Bill was supposed to be there, and he had the money. So it's a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily do that, but
that's heartbreaking. Like I'm
hoping Bill didn't drive 6 hours. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm trying to say how distances, because it can't really give you an idea of how far Edmonton is from Calgary.
Well, you're trying to convert kilometers to
exactly.
How many moose links is that?
I get 300 miles to the Hogshead.
How many Timmies?
Like the width of the parking lot? But no,
how many Timmies are you going to pass to get there?
Oh, that's like that. You can't quantify that. That's like, no, that you can't. That's impossible. That you as a human being, you can't comprehend that number. No, my wife used to work a job that she did a lot of traveling. So we were like in Edmonton. If you're a hockey fan, you know where Edmonton is, unfortunately. We were in Edmonton for a week, staying in a hotel. She had to like look at her locations that she was like manager of. And I had been looking for a space stool, and some guys in Regina, so middle of the country out in the prairies, had a space stool. And it's like a 16-hour drive for me. I was willing to drive. And he keeps putting my name back, but I'm going to get rid of it again. And anyway, so it was a 16-hour drive, and I was willing to do it. And I had this deal like locked down for the Space Duel cabinet. I had really wanted one. And literally the guy said, oh, like just before I was about to leave to like go on a 16-hour drive after I had waited to get it, I had already basically closed the deal. The guy's like, yeah, the Anonymous, if you're listening afterwards online on the podcast app, he just changed my title to Anonymous, just so it's
missed
cool.
out on all the visual humor.
Yeah, fair. But anyway, so the guy in like 16 hours away had literally just said, oh, the guy downstairs in the apartment downstairs wanted it, so he came up and gave me cash. It's heartbreaking when you lose out like that. Just so you know. Okay.
I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying it happens. So
I'm not real big on sniping
your
it
neck
out from under people. I also don't have a lot of competition around here when it comes to machines, especially if it's a broken machine. If it's broken, I'm the only guy that's going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
Or if someone else buys it, they realize they can't do anything with it, and they end up selling it to me anyway. So, if it's broken, it's coming to the prime arcade, one way or another.
100%.
It's just a lot of math that I do in my head based on previous sales of that machine, condition, of course, and there are the price guides out there that I can use to kind of get a basic idea of what a machine will sell for if it's not something that's passed through my hands before. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff in the price guide just isn't really relevant here because it's such a desert in more ways than one that machines that are completely common anywhere else and would sell for $300 or $400 will sell for well over $1,000 here, just because it's the only machine you're going to find, let alone of that game. Sales are few and far apart. If you're not buying it from me, you're probably not buying it from anybody else. So, but whenever it comes to selling stuff, it's a lot of previous experience. When it comes to buying stuff, it's just trying to get all the info I can up front and making an offer and trying to stick with it as best I can. Very rarely do I have to deviate from that.
It's good to have the local market cornered, and you can be the kind of magnate in that area.
The nice thing about not sniping and things like that and undercutting people or like offering more for a game if they'll hold it for me just to keep other people from buying it is that you get a reputation for doing things like that, and I don't have that reputation. I instead have the reputation of a business owner. Mm-hmm. And I don't have like negative reviews or anything like that from having done that to anyone. So that leads to a lot of referrals and word of mouth from people that I've done right by. And that's how I end up with a lot of deals that don't end up being made public. They call me first.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the deals I make are just, hey, you sold my buddy this machine, 6 years ago or whatever. He gave me your number. I have this. Do you want to buy it? And I get a lot of machines that way. So.
Well, and if you find yourself in West Texas, give Kay at Prime Arcade a call, and he can hook you up with a good deal. Good game at a fair price, right? And now, Liam,
take that machine and get out of West Texas because no one should live here. It's horrible.
And now, Liam,
self-deprecating.
You are one of the most organized people that I know, certainly in this hobby. And I think I am OCD with my spreadsheets and whatever, but I know you have far more detail on everything, and you have budgets for different things and this and that. So how do you approach? Because I think you're also like me. I've never sold a game. I think you've maybe sold one game or two games. One
classic game. We sold
and
one.
And the X-Men is still for sale?
Oh, no, actually. No, we did sell that. So two games.
Okay. All right. So just like me, you're mostly on the buy side. How do you figure out how much you're willing to spend on something? How do you identify a good deal? What goes into that for you?
Well, all right. So there is the budget for games, and a certain amount a month goes in the pot, and then we figure out what we can get with that. So the first step is the game on the list? If it isn't on the list, the case for buying whatever that is, even if it's free, becomes a lot harder. If it's something that's not on the list, it usually goes, "Hey, Charlie, you want this thing? Because I don't want it." But if it is on the list, then it becomes a discussion. Okay, so the game is X amount of dollars. What does the price guide say? So look up XD or look up Cassie's guide and try to see what the baseline is. Fine. And then there are certain percentages that we have on that game, like how much under is it? Is it a good deal? Is it a great deal? Is it straight up theft? Because these influence
like a $200 SI Slimline.
Like the whole reason we went for the Firefox is it fell within that insane range. That Firefox cabinet, complete all original, was $500.
Wow,
which is insane for what that game is. Like that
with an extra LD player.
Oh yeah, with 3 players. It had 3 Laserdisc players with it.
Wow, we call that Josh pricing up here. Like a bunch of us collectively call that Josh pricing because he won't buy something for more than like $200.
But anyway, that was the exception to the rule, right? Everything else had been on the list. Firefox was just too good to turn down because it was just so interesting. So there was the exception there. And so when you're asking what the process is, we do have a caveat to the budget system and everything else that if it's too insane, we can think about it. And that's where Firefox came in. Things like X-Men, the 6-player in my background there, and Major Havoc in the other room, that was a different category of overtime budget that went into to getting those games for the amount that I am working overtime on different projects. But generally,
you have like an overtime sound effect.
I don't have. Yeah, hold on.
Don't encourage him. Come on.
We generally try to not buy a game if it's over the minimum amount on Cassie's price guide. That's where we try not to go over ever, because we're usually trying to find broken games. We're trying to find them cheaply, so like half, maybe a little more. I think the only games that we've paid inside sort of the average area on either of the price guides would be Gauntlet, because I really wanted one. And that might be it, honestly. Everything else was either at the bottom or below. So that's sort of where we go as well, because with the budget, we want to conserve it as much as possible so that if something else comes up, we can get that. As for selling, different story, right? It's again looking at the price guide and then determining how much did we pay for it and how much did we put into it, because again, we buy everything broken and then fix it, and that's a lot of time and money. So I sold 2 games, an Asteroids Deluxe Cocktail and an X-Men Upright. And the Asteroids we didn't really do much to, but it was in immaculate condition. And we sold that, I think, relatively on par with what the price guide was. And the X-Men that we sold, we did a lot to. Got new audio module, recap monitor, new joysticks, new speakers, all kinds of stuff. And we ended up selling that a little below, actually, which was bizarre, but it was just the market at the time. It's a big game. It's a quarter munch. It's not really meant for home use. So there's only so much that the market can do in selling something like that. And we had the 6-player, so I really wanted it out of the garage. And that's another factor.
So I know that you are kind of like me in that you go for, you're willing to take on major restoration projects. You want to get things for as cheap as possible. I think unlike me, you do tend to splurge sometimes, right? Like
Yes.
when you find something, because you got like the overtime.
But again, the splurge is comparative.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the X-Men that we purchased back there, the 6-player X-Men, is the most expensive game we've ever purchased, the most expensive video game. And that was $2,000.
Yeah.
On the dot. And we got it out of a comic book shop. But that's still less than half of what the top end is for those machines.
Because like for me, the only time I would say I've ever really splurged is when I had some found money. Because a few years ago, I had a little side gig that was a profitable. It was completely passive income, and it was like never going to be enough to live off of. Like the joke I made was, I'm not going to be able to retire off of this. I'm not going to be able to live off of this. I'm not going to be able to make a mortgage payment off of this. I might be able to make a bad car payment off of this, but it was a nice sort of little, like, you know, a few $100 a month of just like money showing up out of nowhere. Right. And then the one and only no, this was it was to get really nerdy. It was a piece of open source software that I wrote that I wrapped up in a service and threw it up on AWS. And I had a single business that was a customer that was using it, and then they went out of business. So anyway, but I turned that into 2 pinball machines, right? And I probably would not have just like bought pinball machines for cash without having this little pool of found money. But Chance, you know, so how, you know, are you somewhere you fall maybe in the Liam and Charlie side of things, or what's, you know, are you like going for those Josh prices, or how do you determine what a game is worth?
So when I first started in this hobby, like 11 years ago, I kind of made myself, I'm not a hoarder, and I have friends that are like,
that's what a hoarder would say.
Yeah, right. No, but I have friends that are like kind of on the side of hoarders when it comes to hobbies, and they'll just go out and they'll get everything that they can on something. And I said, like, I don't want that. I want to be really realistic of what I bring into the collection, what I want to spend my time on. I just know I don't have a lot of time on this planet, so I want to be very focused on what I want. And so I kind of made my short list of the games that I had to have. And so far in the last 10 years, I've been able to just pick the games on my short list, and they're the ones that kind of go down into the basement. So when I see something that's a decent deal, or like a really good deal, can't pass up, then yeah, I'll go for it. But there's, you know, been the odd game that I've paid a lot of money for. I think when we shipped my Sheriff up here, even though it was on the list, but when we shipped my Sheriff up here from Arizona, I got a Sheriff and a Hellfire cocktail on a pallet from Arizona. And that was the first time I'd ever sold a game. I sold a Centipede to fund that purchase. We had put up a video on the Canadian Arcade about Sheriff, and, you know, a few weeks later, another Calgarian who was living in Scottsdale, he reached out to me. He says, "Hey, I got something you want." So I'm like, okay, like whatever you want, shut up, take my money, like blank check, here we go. And so there's been a couple of times where that's happened, but usually like I try to be reasonable with the prices. I think that's maybe why my wife tolerates me so much, is that like I've been very lucky where she's never like, "Oh, you can't have another game." It's, oh, hey, like, you know, your rent, bills, everything's paid for. You know, she doesn't get mad at me for that, and I've got my list of things that I want to get done. So I'm kind of reasonable with that respect.
So you're kind of like us then.
Yeah.
Games come off the list.
Kind of. But like, Josh then prices. Again, but like sometimes like I'm willing to pay, like we say Josh prices kind of as a joke, and Josh says Josh prices kind of as a joke, but it's serious. Like he won't spend more than like $200-300 on a game, you know? And like, I'm not going to lie. Like I've gotten some really good deals before in the past. Like my red 5-slot Donkey Kong cabinet, I got for $200 with, what was it? Super Mario Brothers Versus in it. And the reason and the kind of the way that I've been able to do that is we have a small collective of people in the Calgary area. There's about 7 or 8 of us. And you know, we're all good friends. It's kind of like we have like tiers of deals. Like, you know, you can go on eBay pricing and get eBay pricing, or you can get Clov and collector deals, or like, you know, Craigslist deals are above that, then Clov and collector deals. But then we've got like our bro deals and our friend group. We've got a small group of really good people who, you know, we all respect and we all trust and we all help each other out. There's a lot of like horse trading and whatnot done. And so when some of us, you know, find something or see something that maybe we don't necessarily want, or we know that somebody else is looking for, we pass that off to the group of us, the 6-7 of us first. And then, you know, hey, like Adam, go out and get this. You our buddy Adam, like you really want this game. I think it was a Star Wars. I think he went out and helped this lady in his hometown, which is just south of Calgary, picked up a Star Wars. It was just like, it was awesome. And that's kind of what we do. Anything below that, like crazy deals between like me and maybe Josh. Like if I want something, I think Josh charged me like $200 for a game once, and that was like Josh and Chance pricing, like just like horse traded across kind of thing. So
that's
it's a
pricing right
tiered
there.
system. Yeah, that's bro pricing.
Well,
but I mean, like I think he paid like 150 for it. So,
and for me, right, like I actually, while we were talking about this, I went and I did some math. Speaking of spreadsheets, I went back and looked at some trend information, right? And so the takeaway is the older I get, the more shrewd I get, and the cheaper junk I'm buying. Let's say, right? So in 2024, so far I've bought 4 games for an average of $88 a piece. And these included, let's see, fully working games. Yeah, 3 fully working games, and the food fight for an average of $88 a piece. And then in 2023, I got 20 games. I bought 20 games last year for an average of $150. Like the joke I make is like, I'll buy almost anything if it's $200 or less, which, you know, that data sort of supports that. In 2022, I bought 5 games for an average of $175. So you can see, like, the older we go back in time, the more I'm spending. And then all the games I bought before 2022, I spent an average of $500, right? So the sort of more I get into this hobby, you know, even though what I'm interested in is sort of getting narrower, because I've checked a lot of those boxes, and you would think, like, you know, the games I'm interested in getting are going to be less and less, you know, or harder and harder to find, right? Because I've gotten a lot of those already. The prices are going down, right? And again, maybe it's because I'm a bit more discerning and know what to, you know what stuff is worth, and not getting excited and spending, you know, $700 on something when, if I'm just patient, I can find it for cheaper later. And, you know, I use the same price guides like virtually every single day. I've got the Vintage Arcade Gal price guide and the Exidy price guide up. And I go and I look at, you know, what stuff is sold on Clove, right? Which is usually good, unless people, you know, get rid of the pricing information by editing their posts, which is always terrible. You really can't go by eBay because that's a completely different market. And Facebook is hard to go back and look at historical stuff. But that's what I go for. And it's, you know, specifically, unless it falls into my lap for next to nothing, I don't buy working games, right? Because one of the biggest things for me in this hobby is I want to fix this stuff. I want to bring it back to life and then enjoy it. I will enjoy playing a game less if I didn't bring it back to life. And frankly, that's one of the reasons that I'm kind of willing to let the Armor Attack go, because I got it as a working game, and I did just a little bit of cleanup to it. I replaced the buttons, and, you know, that's you know, really kind of it. You know, make sure everything was, you know, dialed in. And so I'm less emotionally invested in that game because, you know, I didn't do anything to it, versus, you know, the first game that I ever brought back from the dead is a Donkey Kong Jr. Cocktail, which most people would not have a huge necessarily attachment to. But that rush that I got from that game coming to life for the first time, and I got it and it was totally dead, no monitor, power cord cut, you know, untested PCB. And the first time that, because of I was the only person that touched it, I didn't send anything, I did all of it myself, and that game came back to life. That was so awesome. I'm not selling Armor Attack Zoner. It looks like I have a deal worked out to trade it, so more about that later. Not Cabaret.
But you're still getting rid of it.
I'm getting rid of Armor Attack.
I guess I'll contrast that a little bit, because we will buy a working game. And even though I think, again, like you, the primary enjoyment is fixing things, I love having something in the workshop to fix. Cough, cough, Battlezone. We will buy something that's working, and that's because the things that are on the list are things that I really want to play, and certain things are very difficult to find as a project, and I really want to play those things. Like, even though, like for example, the 6-player X-Men, they don't come up very often, or the Major Havoc, even though we did get that as a project, they just don't come up super often. So we really wanted to jump on it when we could get something for a good price. even if it is working or mostly working. Like I just went and looked at my spreadsheet, like you said, we got spreadsheets. It looks like our average paid for a given game over the course of collecting is less than half of the average for the price guides for those same games.
Wow.
Overall. So I think it's a pretty good stat. It's about 40% of the midpoint average. So we've done fairly well, but that includes, some working games that are close to that price point. But it's just because I just want to play them. So, I don't want to wait forever to find a project that may or may not exist. Because how many, dedicated Major Havoc or iRobot projects are out there? Probably not a lot.
Yeah. And that was
Certainly
like
not
us for the Tapper, right? Like when Vanessa showed interest in wanting to play Tapper, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start looking for one. Yeah, right. So like maybe I should just spend my time investing in like building one from scratch. And eventually that's just what we ended up doing. It's going to cost me a lot more than buying one. But
well, and won't it drive you nuts when once you finish it and it looks awesome and then Vanessa's enjoying it and you post all these awesome images online, the next time you see a Tapper for sale locally for an incredible price, aren't you going to be like, oh!
No, because I'll still go out there and I'll get it. If I see it, I'll just get it. Right. Well, but that's just it. Like we don't have games coming out. Like we have a lot of games that show up on the market out here, but sometimes you've got to be willing to spend a little bit more for something, or we have I'll give you an example. We have a lot of red tents here in Alberta. We have a lot of red tents here in Canada. And I know the reason why is because there was a distributor out in the prairies, and there was hundreds of them that they brought in. But like I see it all the time on Clover on Facebook where people are like, oh, you got a red tent? Like, holy crap, they're so rare. And I'm like, I've got 2 of them downstairs in my basement. Like it's an area thing. And it comes down to like pricing as well. It's a very subjective thing. I know they're talking about like what a Nintendo cab goes for in the chat here. And this is something that's been coming up a lot, I think often, is the value and the cost of a cabinet. And I think each one of us in our area would, like, if we just, wrote down on a piece of paper right now and showed it to the screen, would have a different price for what an average Nintendo cabinet would go for. And it's because of location and availability. This came up not long ago on Clov, where people were asking, oh, what should I got an opportunity to buy this Nintendo cabinet. What should I offer the guy? Like, I don't want to lowball him, but I also don't want to get screwed. And I basically just answered the question like, okay, here are the guides. So this is the generally accepted price guides, the Exidy and the VAG price guide. Here are the generally accepted prices for what you're looking for. But go on Clov, look at the previous few sales, go on Facebook, look at the previous few sales in your area and take all those together and do an average. And that's what you offer the guy. And condition pending or location pending, if it doesn't show off in your area, then that's kind of where the price should be. And I think with parts too, that's the same thing. Like when I go to sell something on Clov, I think I recently just sold a Nintendo Versus board with Super Mario Brothers, and I want to say it was Dr. Mario. I've sold 2 of them in the last little bit. And I looked it up on Clov, and they were going for like $500, anywhere from between $650 and $400. And I'm just like, okay, well, look at the dates of when those postings went and sell it for a reasonable price. And I think I've always been fairly reasonable with what I've ever posted for sale on Clov.
I've seen stuff. I've never said, wow, Chance is asking a lot. Multiple times I've said, wow, Chance could probably get more for that.
Maybe. Well, if that's the case, you need to message me and tell me that. but like, I think like a reasonable price, right? Like every once in a while I've sat on some stuff. Like I think I had that NBA Jam kit. I had a new in-box NBA Jam kit. I sat on like one of those upgrade kits that you could put in a Dynamo cab. I think I sat on that thing for like 4 or 5 years. Didn't sell it. Didn't need to. And then it came down to the point where I was like, okay, well, hey, I've got this other project I'm working on. I could use this money. So what's the value of it? Couldn't find the value of it anywhere. Nobody had. It was like an unprecedented thing. Nobody had a new in-box NBA Jam kit. So I made a price.
Well, and don't do a make me an offer post,
Oh.
because I recently, purged a bunch of parts that I, would never need. And there's still plenty for sale. People are interested. If anyone out there needs a Exity crossbow marquee, for example, or, lots of stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I am very grateful to everyone that bought. I sold quite a bit of stuff. I sold enough to easily pay for that Food Fight PCB and the Food Fight joystick. So very much appreciate that. And I got some stuff in trade too, so it was good. But I posted a make me an offer, and easily 90% of the PMs I got were, how much do you want for this?
Yeah.
Right?
That's frustrating. But like sometimes you have to do that. Like even if you can't do your research, like you just don't know. And I know some Facebook groups won't even allow you to do that. Like in their rules, they say you have to put a price. And in the Alberta group, as an example, they do that. Josh is one of the admins of the Alberta Facebook and Pinball Arcade group. And him and I have debates on this all the time. Like I want to sell something where I just want to post it out there because I'm thinking of selling it, but I don't want to do the time and the research, and I want to just get it gone. And like, especially if it's a cabinet. And he's like, no, you have to have a price on it. And I'm like, well, sometimes I don't want to. Like, so but there's a way around that. You basically said, hey, I'm thinking of selling this. I don't know. Hey, look what I got. I might sell it. Yeah. But.
And I was just responding to Stephen Wallard in the live chat. He said, oh, Clov has a price guide now. Unfortunately, no. Everyone uses Exity and the Vintage Arcade Gal price guide. But if you go back, you can look at, sales history. It's not like Pinside, where Pinside has, I don't want to get into talking about databases and how they're managed, but the Pinside database is
I love the Pinside
all the
market.
activity is better linked. And Pinside actually does very much, track the prices of stuff, versus all that work is up to you on Clov.
The Pinside one is really good because you can see the historical prices. And I think with Clov, unfortunately, yes, you have to do the grunt work. But honestly, if you're really good at Google, if you're really good with Google Foo and searching for the right things, and you spend 5 minutes, like it doesn't hurt to go into Clov, go specifically into the one-off buy, sell, trade parts forum on Clov, and you just go search for what you're trying to sell. So let's say it's a Final Fight board. Okay. And you just post Final Fight in the search field, and you say, titles and first posts only in this thread only. And you just hit search. And then you look at the dates and the posts that have been there. Just take a little scrap piece of paper, write them all down. It's usually going to be a couple of pages full. Just maybe do 1 or 2 pages, depends on, how often this thing goes up for sale. And then just do an average of that. Add a little bit more on top of that, adjusting for inflation if all the prices that you find are like a couple of years old, and just, crank it up a little bit, but not too terribly much. Or if the prices look like they were insane and they've been going down, crank it to something reasonable. And I feel that is the most economical way, or the most democratic way of finding a price for something.
And so once you find the game or the part that you're looking for, what if it's not in Calgary? What if it's not around the corner? What if it's not local to you, Liam or Kay, right? And you need to get something shipped to you, whether it's a game or a part or whatever. Everyone sighs when I say that, right?
It's hard.
How do we do this dance?
Why? Why is it hard?
It's hard because money. Again, like I would put on shipping charge to whatever the price tag of the game is. And whenever I'm looking at something that's remote and I can't just go drive and get it, that suddenly has become a much more expensive game.
Fair.
And then it doesn't quite fit in the budget box or where I want it relative to what the value of the game is.
Okay, so we're talking games, not parts.
For parts, I will ship, obviously.
Oh, okay.
But for a game itself, it's just not attractive when it's not within, a 7-hour driving distance.
Okay. So let me put this question to you then. What if you didn't have a Q*bert? And a Q*bert that was perfect, the perfect price and the perfect everything, and they were willing to put it on a pallet?
We've passed.
You've passed.
Just because we know it's going to be so much more expensive to ship.
Interesting. See, like if it's on my absolute must-have, like I think okay, I'll give you an example. When Josh and I were working on Fargo season 5, this is important because there was a game that had come up. It was a 1942 in a Space Encounters cabinet. And I had seen that a few months prior gone online. And I was like, that's really cool. And then, it went away for a few months and then it came up for sale in Fargo of all places. It was a game I wanted. It was a really cool game that I was trying to recreate here locally if I could find parts. And it was kind of in Fargo. So it was like Providence. Like you have to ship that. So we went online. I went and I found a person that was willing to, on UShip, that was willing to pick up the shipment and bring it over. I think it probably cost me like another $700 American or something. Like it was stupid, like almost the cost of the game.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Like we've only shipped one game.
Yeah, but convert that to Canadian rupees, like rubies, like that's a lot of money. Like my wife is watching right now and she's going to come through that door any second now. And she's going to be like, you did what? Like it's going to be here. Let's just keep an eye on the door. It's going to be a contentious thing in a minute, but it had to be done. Cause like that was the game. There was only one like it.
We shipped one. And the only reason we shipped it is because even with the cost of shipping, it fit within the budget box and fit within what we were willing to pay. It was a space shuttle pinball project, and it only cost $700 with shipping.
Wow!
And so
American.
How
far did it have to ship from?
That's a good deal.
Across the country.
Yeah, that's a really good deal.
Albuquerque,
New Mexico. Wow.
So that was what made it willing to do, because we've passed on things. We've passed on a Star Wars that was in Texas, and it was a fantastic deal. And if it had been local, it may have been a different story. We passed on, I think, a Q-Bird at one point, a Sinistar. They were just too far to really consider going and getting. There was a second Star Wars in Michigan that I would have bought if it was close by, but ultimately did not.
Well, and I've actually never had a game shipped to me. I've shipped one game from my house, right? And so one of the things that I've done, both to help myself and to help others, is this sort of like arcade underground railroad sort of thing, right? So I've got a couple of different friend networks where we help each other out, moving stuff all around. I am regularly driving between DC and New York for work, and sometimes west and sometimes south. So I can, like, I went out to Nashville, and I brought 2 games to Nashville, right? And so like doing all that stuff all the time. So I've been helped out a couple of times, and I've helped out other folks quite a bit, for that. And I'm always happy to do that. And then I picked up a game in Maryland for a buddy of mine, brought it to my house, and then he had Beltman pick it up from my house. So I got to sort of see how that works. And it was okay. I think they did a reasonably good job. I probably would have treated it a little bit more gingerly, but I think it was fine, and it arrived fine, and everything was good. I've heard people have had good luck with Fastenal, in terms of shipping. Chance, you mentioned UShip. Wicked Arcade, Jojo's mentioning that he's actually working on a cabinet shipping video right now, and he said it was cheap, under $300 from Texas to Pennsylvania. So I don't know if that's Fastenal or something.
Sounds like Fastenal to me.
$260 with Fastenal. That is pretty incredible.
Fastenal has its pros and cons. We shipped through Fastenal when we got that pinball machine, but you definitely need to be studious when looking at shipping something through Fastenal.
Here's the thing I've learned, okay? And this is with everything shipping games. So I've probably shipped maybe 5-6 games. 2 shipped out and the rest shipped to me. And I've done it a couple of different ways. Now, this is kind of maybe more, like the more kind of thing. This is my little bit of education here. There are two different ways for anyone who's listening here, or anyone's in the chat, because I know Alex had asked, like, hey, Chance, like, who do you ship with? Because he got a quote, I think, here for $1,300. That's insane. There are two different ways that you can look at shipping an actual cabinet. So the first way is to use like a shipping company like a Fastenal, or what's the other one? CSA Transport. So I've used CSA Transport. I had an Atari 720 that was bought by not a collector, but like he was like a skateboard guy, and he really wanted the 720 from me. He was in all the way across the country in Quebec. And I used a company called CSA Transport. Shout out to Stephanie Fong at CSA Transport, because she was awesome. That's kind of like our Beltman up here. You know, they kind of understand what it is to ship an arcade game, but this is a dedicated, less than a truckload shipping company. Now, again, just disclaimer, mileage may vary with anybody. And that's, you know, the second type of shipping is kind of like a cart for hire, like a truck for hire, like U-Ship. So when you ship on U-Ship, because I've seen some really bad horror stories on U-Ship, but I've also seen some good things. And I think that comes down to the way that you vet the people with the offers. If you look for a reasonable offer and you take your time, you're able to get a good deal. So we had gotten from Fargo, where's Fargo? North Dakota, Minnesota? Where's
North
Fargo?
Dakota.
North Dakota. Thank you.
North Dakota.
I know my states, but not North Dakota. Okay.
Didn't you work on
I know
the
my
show
American
for crying
geography,
out
but
loud?
not all the time. It's a fictional TV show. It's shot in Calgary, Alberta. Okay. But so in Fargo, it's out in the middle of nowhere, so nobody wanted to buy that cabinet. And some of the responses that I was getting on U-Ship were like $10, $15, $100. And I'm like, I'm not gonna spend $1,200 American to ship a game to Calgary. So for me, it was just easier to ship it to Sweetgrass, Montana, at the border, the Coots border crossing, and then I can make a day out of it. I can make a road trip with one of my arcade buddies, or Vanessa came down with me for that
video out of it.
1942. Exactly, we made a video out of it. It's a great video. And did we make a video out of that? I don't think we did. Oh, we did
a video about Sweetgrass.
We did a video about Sweetgrass.
But it might have been for the sheriff.
That was for the sheriff. Yeah, you know our content better than I do right now. But no. So for the
fan, I got a Canadian Arcade T-shirt that I paid for.
Yeah, you're one of like 4 people. Yeah, it wasn't a bootleg. But no, like for that, like it's just easier for me to go down to the border and get it, because we're 3-4 hours away from the border. I'm fine with that round trip. That's a lot of fun for me, right? So, but again, Take it all with a grain of salt. Do your homework and do your research. There are a lot of companies out there, but a lot of those companies aren't arcade companies. I will say one thing though, when shipping games specifically, the pinball guys have it down to a science. Because with a pinball cabinet, it's always the same weight and size. Well, unless it's like, Safecracker, it's always the same size of thing on the pallet. And I've got it's uniform, and it's easy. They've got their, the shipping companies that they work with. I can say that I shipped with CSA Transport once. It was a great experience, as long as it's ready to go on your driveway when they come to pick it up. And then, with U-Ship, I've seen like horror stories, but I've also had good experiences. So just take the time and do the due diligence if you want to. But as far as shipping games go, the one thing I will say, and I'm going to make this a rule going forward, is from now on, if I ever ship a game ever again, the buyer is fully responsible for organizing the shipping. I will not do that again. That is a nightmare. And I know why people ask for that. So
I want to amend one of my earlier statements to you, Chance. There is one game that I would consider shipping. And that is iRobot. I am resigned to the fact that in order to obtain that game, I will likely have to ship one.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's a good game. There's not many people who'd probably agree with us on this, but yeah, that's a good game.
And Jason's making progress on that Repro control panel. I don't know if you saw the latest version.
I saw it. Despite my lack of iRobot, I will probably buy one just in case.
Okay,
and then you'll end up with 2.
Well, then let's talk parts, because I know we don't have much time at all. And I want to get this parts thing across, because I am frustrated with when it comes to buying and selling parts, because you guys have a population of what, almost 400 million people, and we're basically the population of California. And it's frustrating to me when what I need is available and up for sale in the United States on Clove or on Facebook Marketplace, and someone in the States says, "Oh, I won't ship outside of the continental US." Can somebody explain that to me? Why?
I don't want to.
That's it? I don't
Yeah.
want to?
I don't want to. They make us fill out another form, and I don't have that kind of time.
Okay, but how about this, Kay? Let me tell you this. So if you have a control panel that I want, okay, let's say you have a dynamo cut corner control panel, 23.5 inches. I've been looking for one for a while. You've got it. You won't ship it to me, and your argument is because you don't want to fill out that paperwork. Okay.
The way I've solved that, and like I don't know, I don't mean to steal your thunder, Chance. So you might have been about to say this, but it's not just with you. Whenever I've shipped something to someone somewhere else, I say, "Hey, I'm happy to do it. Send me the shipping label, and I'll drop it off at UPS or whatever the right place is." Sort of like you were saying before. If you're shipping a game to somebody, you make the buyer deal with all that, right? Because likely, if they're buying something that's going to be shipped from the US, like I've done this to Norway, I've done this other places, they are much more familiar with international shipping than I would be, right?
Yeah.
It's far more likely that they've had something shipped from the US to them than me having shipped something to Norway. So I say, "Hey, you figure it all out. Send me the shipping label. I will measure it for you. I'll tell you everything you need to have. I'll put that shipping label on the box, and I will drop it off at UPS and get the receipt from UPS."
Well, that's just it. So like, Kay, how would you feel then if I said to you, like, okay, you're going to ship this in the continental US anyway. You've already boxed it up. How about I just give you a prepaid shipping label for UPS?
I've changed my mind. It's already sold. Yeah, I would do that. If you just send me a shipping label and it doesn't take any more work, yeah, I'd do that.
And that's easier. And now, so that fun fact for any Canadians, that's something that I've been able to do. I've turned sales of like, "Hey, I'll only ship this to the States." I've said to them like, "Look, I'm just going to send you a shipping label." And so this comes up like the whole myth about like buying and selling parts or cross-border parts. And it's actually really stupidly easy. So Charlie, as an example, the other day, I needed to buy something that would only be
not
sold.
arcade related. Not arcade related.
Not arcade related. And it was only going to be sold in the United States. So
400 million people, and I'm apparently Chance's best friend in the US.
So I bought one of these. So
big dumb cups.
So I bought one of these cups. I realized that I drink too much pop, and I wanted to start drinking more water.
Everyone in Canada wants the Stanley Cup. It's been their lifelong dream from being a tiny little hockey fan growing up. Now you've got your own Stanley Cup.
It's the cup that says, "My favorite rapper, that's Kesha."
So anyway, so I wanted one of these, but I wanted
Canadian hee-haw or something. What was that?
No, that's SNL, man.
This is the cup that says, "I'm a virgin, but I also have 6 kids."
So anyway, I really wanted one of these, but I didn't want, like, I wanted something custom on it. So I wanted to have the McLaren logo engraved on it, because if you can't tell, I'm a McLaren fan. There's a thing over there. Anyway, so Stanley won't ship customized ones to Canada. Now, this is a big corporation. So of course I have Charlie, as an example, offer to me straw shipping. So it was easy for me to ship it to his location. Probably a felony. And then I just sent him, you gave me the weight and dimensions of the box, and I sent you a prepaid shipping label. And now the big argument comes
on the box, and threw it at the UPS driver, and that was it.
Literally after opening it and asking me why I shipped you a sippy cup.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It didn't have any marking. Like, I didn't know what this thing was, right? And
you didn't read Chance on the label.
Well, and what's funny is, and this is a huge aside, I actually get stuff sent to me pretty frequently, and I have no idea what it is, right? The business that I'm in and the position that I'm in, I get like companies that try to sell stuff to my business, and I'm often the person they're trying to like convince, right? So they'll send me stuff. We have investors, and sometimes the investors send us little like goodie bags or something like that, right? Like my wife one time, the thing that the joke she always makes is this another 10 pounds of cheese? Because we like one of our investors a couple years ago sent us like as a gift, like all the executives in the company, we all got like 10 pounds of like cheese samples because they like invested in some cheese company and so they could get it for cheap. And so they sent it as like a gift. And she's like, is this another 10-pound box of cheese? And so I got this and I'm like, what in the world is this? Because it didn't say Stanley or anything on the outside. It didn't have your name, like, care of or whatever. So I'm like, I don't know what this is. This isn't from Amazon. It's like from just some, and like I looked up the name of the company.
I gave Chance my address. Maybe he sent me some.
Well, and it was some like
Anthrax.
I looked up the name of the company on the return address, and it was like a marketing company or something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is some promotional nonsense that got sent to me, and I didn't like.
I'm
not an F1 fan. I'm not an F1 fan. I'm like, what the heck is this logo?
Yeah, I'm gonna be fully honest.
It
I had no idea what that logo is
McLaren.
either. It looked like a bad
It's just
Nike
like a
logo.
swish. It looks like a Star Trek Discovery comm badge.
Yeah, so not to be completely off topic, but like, so they actually say on the Stanley website that they don't put trademark logos, and McLaren, of course, is like a 60-year-old trademark logo, 70-year-old logo. So I figured because Formula One fandom is so low in the United States that I could have them put the swish without the word McLaren on it, because a lot of their stuff, they still just have this. And I could hack the system and Stanley would make one. Exactly. If you tip it upside down, but I don't want to because it'll leak everywhere. But yeah, no. So anyway, so big, let me just impress on to all of the people who are listening or watching this, a really cool hack. Okay. And that is how to get shipping for like 80% off. Okay, this isn't sponsored or anything, but I think that a lot of the people, when they're doing deals on Clove or Facebook Marketplace, especially when you're dealing with international people, this is something that all of you should use, is NetParcel. Okay, so NetParcel is actually really, really easy. And the way to do this properly is to use your PayPal account with NetParcel. Okay, so here, I preloaded this. So if you take your smartphone, for those of you who are watching, take it. Liam, you got to do this. You got to follow along at home. Take your smartphone and point it at that. This is how you get a virus? Point your...
This is translating great.
Take your smartphone.
I don't scan random QR codes.
Yeah. So go ahead. Those of you who are watching. Okay, so take it. Oh, wait.
This is how you Venmo $500 to Chance.
So this is the NetParcel QR code for anyone who's watching this later. So you go to NetParcel and you sign in, because NetParcel have a deal with PayPal. Okay, so they're integrated. In fact, on the back end, if you do a sale for goods and services on PayPal, NetParcel can actually provide your shipping logistics with that, and you save because it's like a group buy with some of the major logistics companies like Purolator in Canada, Canada Post, UPS, and USPS, DHL for international. You can save like a living crap ton of money. Okay. So that's why whenever you see me, Charlie, whenever you see me post something on Clove, I say like I get really good shipping rates. That's how I get really good shipping rates. So I can send something from you. So we've got an arcade shop order coming up. You and I had to get some speakers. I know because Arcade Shop won't ship to Canada anymore. Yeah. So as soon as that gets to as soon as that gets to your place, you're going to put it in a box. Hold on 1 second. You're going to give me weight and dimensions.
Steven just had a great point. How is he supposed to scan your QR code when he's watching this on his phone?
Oh, screenshot it, man.
I know. I
Here, thought that was funny. Let me go back.
Screenshot it and go get a second phone and use that phone to scan the code on the first one.
That's the Michael Scott solution.
So it's that's the Michael Scott solution. It's PayPal, pp.netparcel.com. Okay. And you just sign in. It's free. It doesn't cost you any money.
You can also put it in the chat.
I'm gonna put it in the chat. Okay, hold on. Let's do that. Let's go pp.
Or you could just do pirate ship.
Pirate ship's more expensive. Anyway.
Pirate ship.
So, but when that, I mean, but this is Canadian. That's it in Canada. This is a Canada perspective. So, but
like we don't call parcels in America. They're packages.
This is an American company. Anyway, so when this arcade shop order gets to you, all you're going to do is throw it in a box like you normally would, and you tell me the weight and the dimensions, and I'm going to send you a prepaid shipping label. 5-day UPS tracked. You can, the coolest thing, like Kay, as an example, if I was to buy that control panel from you, you could drop it off at your local UPS location, or I could just, for an extra couple bucks on my end, I could just have UPS pick it up from you at a time that works for you.
That's true. And for those of you who are listening to the audio and didn't see him do the little right there,
air quotes.
Air quotes.
He's talking about heroin.
Yes. But anyway, so that's
have fun with that at the border.
That's great. Yeah, I've been stopped at the border so many times.
Customs and Border Protection.
Well, I don't know if you noticed this, Charlie, on that sheriff video that we did a few years ago. Canadian Customs, those guys are jerks, like CBSA.
Yeah, no, near you. When I went in on the eastern side of Canada, and I went through the checkpoint in some small town on the podunk of the border of Maine, the border control guard stopped me at the border. You got any drugs? You got any weapons? You got any anything else? I said no, and he's like, "Welcome to Canada, bye."
No, man.
it's
sorry, when was this? What year was this?
2018.
Okay, so that was pre-COVID. Okay, like.
No. But when we went through on the Montana side, the Canadian Border Patrol stopped us and searched our car.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what the Coutts Sweetgrass border crossing is like then, because like when I went through, every single time I go through to go down to Sweetgrass, Montana, it's like I'll pull up to the thing because like I'm doing both border crossings within like a 20-minute, half an hour time period, right? And so it's like the same, I'm getting the same time of day. So it's not like it's shift change or anything, or it's not like 3 a.m. and they don't want to be there. But when I go through the American Customs, like the Homeland Security guys, those guys are so chill. Like, no wonder you guys need a border wall, on every single edge of your country.
The other thing is the Canadian guys, they opened up all my instant film and ruined all the film. They thought it was like drug packages.
Yeah, that's I'm sorry. But so like your guys are so nice, they're so chill. We go over, they're like, all right, go have fun, spend your money. But like when you try as a Canadian citizen to get back into Canada and go over that border, it's like they will throw the book at you. Exactly.
Smuggling any freedom into our country.
Last time I came back in on the Canadian border into the US, I was driving with 2 friends of mine and we all showed our US passports. Like, okay, so where did you go to school? How do you all know each other? How long have you been friends? What's your hometown? What's your mother's maiden name?
Actually, I have a short story
like they
about
know.
You. Yeah. I have a short story about that. So in my other life, I was a competition paintball player. So I traveled around playing paintball competitively. We did a tournament in Huntington Beach, California. I think it was like 2008. And so you can imagine like 12 Canadians go down to California. We're there for a week. We got one of those big 15 passenger crew vans. And one of our buddies on the team, we got a day off and they're like, hey, let's go down to Tijuana. I'm like, really? Okay.
Tijuana.
Let's go down to Tijuana, right? It's a family show, so we can't say what he was looking for, but obviously we didn't find that. But so we go down to Tijuana and it was supposed to be like a 6-hour trip, like over the border. We were there for like 12 hours. We got lost in Tijuana. We got lost. We actually at one point were trying to find directions out of town to get back on the road. Cause this is back in the day, like when smartphones were relatively new, right? Nobody, international data on their phones. Nobody had it. And so we asked like a cop for directions and he sent us down this dark back alley that we were afraid we were going to lose all of our organs. So we finally find the US border. And it's like, if you've ever been to the Mexico-America border in Tijuana, it's like 3 lanes of traffic that turns into 26 lanes of traffic, and it's like 80 meters, 80 yards deep. Okay, you're like 100 yards deep, and it takes 3 hours to get from 3 lanes into 26 lanes, and then to go through the thing. And so we get up to the thing, and in the entire time you're sitting there as this lane separation happens, there's all of these wonderful Mexicans just trying to like make a living for themselves, selling churros and luchador masks and like knockoff Pixar toys and stuff, right? And so you can just imagine like this 15-passenger crew van pulls up to the American Border Patrol kiosk, and out pops a bunch of Canadians wearing luchador masks, eating churros with their Canadian passports. I have never seen an American official in uniform so dejected in their entire life. He looked at one of our passports, he gave it back, and just didn't say a word, just waved us on.
So anyway, they opened fire.
And then they opened fire.
And Chance returned
yeah.
fire with a paintball gun.
No. So, well, we left all of our kit in California, but it's funny because like it's a side thing. Don't eat the churros in Tijuana, because I had the churros and I was in the back of the 15-passenger crew van like with a stomach ache the entire way back to SoCal. Like it was a brutal time.
It sounds like a euphemism.
No, it's not. It's legit. But
don't have the churros in Tijuana. I was tripping for 3 days.
Oh man, yeah, no. So that's my experience with your American Border Patrol. But
what were we talking about?
I don't know, but I think we're done. So
I think we're done. Yeah,
I think we're done. Well, this has been quite an episode. We did have one quick question from Tyler Young in the live chat, sort of off topic, just saying, anyone have a good recommendation for arcade PCB repair? And I think the consensus is it really depends on the game. Sounds like he's got a Bubble Bobble. Best bet there, probably post it on Clav, and someone will chime in that they work on that specific generation of it's Taito, right? Bubble Bobble's Taito.
Is it the real one, or is it one of the 2 or 3 bootleg ones?
He says OEM. He said OEM.
OEM. Okay.
Yeah.
And it depends if you're in Canada or the States, because like we got a guy here in Canada that does all of our work.
There you go. There you
go. And if you want him to work on it, like you got to send him like a prepaid shipping label. It's just a huge hassle.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been a good episode. Why don't we go around the horn, everyone? You guys can plug your stuff where everyone can find you, starting with Kay.
I'm Kay with Prime Arcade Sales and Repair down here in West Texas. You can find me on TikTok at Prime_Arcade and on YouTube at Prime Arcade TX. They're the same videos, but the ones on YouTube don't have captions or background music, mostly just for monetary purposes if I ever get any subscribers there.
And how about you, Chance?
I am Chance. I am one half of the Canadian Arcade. For those of you who have a smartphone and you're not watching this on your phone right now, you can point your phone's camera at the screen and find us on the Canadian Arcade there. We also have Instagram, where we post a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. And we don't have Twitter. We don't have... Oh, do you want me to put that back up for you, Charlie? Okay, yeah, go for it. Yeah. Oh, you're just messing with me. Okay, yeah. But yeah, so we're just YouTube and Instagram. It's Josh Brown and myself, which make up both halves of the Canadian Arcade.
And Liam.
I am Liam, and I make up one half of Retrobotics with my better half, Sam. And hopefully, eventually soon, as I say every time, we'll have more content. So you can find us there on YouTube.
And I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. If you are watching this right now, or you're watching this on my channel, we'll post the audio version of this probably tomorrow or Tuesday. Everywhere that you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to get it there. You can also watch the replay on my channel. Want to give a special thank you to everyone that made a super chat donation. First and foremost, Jerry Voluptuous, who donated twice. Then Zoner69, Stringer Films, Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger. And we actually picked up 3 new members for Overtime Arcade channel membership. We got JoJo from the Wicked Arcade, and these 2 guys, Prime Arcade and Chance Johnson. I'm not sure what to make of those dudes, but yeah, really
I did it
appreciate
first. I just want to point that out.
You what? You want
I
your
did it
perks?
first. I
There you
started the
go.
trend. You're welcome.
Trendsetter. Well, welcome all of you, and I hope all the channel members continue to enjoy the perks that come with channel membership. So I think that'll do it. I think that was a good episode. So if I can remember how to do this, we'll send us off to some music. That was episode 15 of the Coin Jam podcast, and we'll see you next month.
A message from the Government of Canada.